Hi, this is AJ Hazzi, and I've been selling real estate now for 20 years. Our team of highly trained professionals, along with our marketing plan, has sold over 3,000 homes all over the Okanagan market. And this is how we do it.
Welcome to the first annual 2022 Business Planning Workshop. Just to set everybody at ease right away, this is not a recruiting event. Don't let the very fancy Cliff bars and branded water bottles take you guys for the wrong turn there. You're not going to hear anything about our brokerage. It's none of that, okay? What I really want this event to become is something we do annually. This time around, we did it for $50. I'd like to deliver so much freaking value to you guys today that we can charge more and do this as a fundraiser and give money away each year to charity. That would be my kind of vision for this. Selfishly, I do kind of enjoy doing this kind of stuff as well. I've been at this for some time now, and it's an enjoyable process for me to pass on what I know. It does take a little bit of courage, though, to jump up in front of a group of your peers, so I do appreciate your grace. It's the first time I've actually done something like this, and so I'm going to do my best to just deliver huge value to you guys today. And all I ask in return is that you guys engage. If I ask a question, just give me some engagement. It's tough to talk to an audience that doesn't reply back. If you don't like the content and you're disinterested in what I'm saying, all I would ask is, leave. I'll happily refund the $50 if you don't think the content's valuable, but I would rather just look out at some folks that are engaged in the content. That's all I ask. There's a reason why, we've gathered here. We recognize something might be shifting in the market, right? Who here just came off their best year ever? Show of hands. Yeah, okay. And so who here thinks that this little market that we're in may change, may shift? Who's got that feeling, that kind of creepy feeling? Yeah, okay, some folks. All right. Well, what if I told you it doesn't actually matter? It doesn't matter. Because what we do if we're intentional is far more important than the market conditions that we're in, right? So there's really no good or bad markets, there's only good or bad tactics. So what I'm hoping to arm you with today is just some awesome tactics that you guys can use, you can implement in your business. And yeah, like I say, I hope you get tons and tons of value. Now, when I look out of this room, it's funny, I know some of you guys really, really well, and some of you I only kind of know of peripherally, and then because I'm not really out in the field too much anymore, there's a lot of people who I actually don't know. And I suspect that works both ways. Some of you guys know me really well, some of you guys know of me, maybe you've heard some shit. I don't know, that's possible. And some of you guys just have no idea who I am. So just to kind of get everybody a baseline, I'm just gonna share my story. And it's 50% cautionary tale and 50% stuff you can use as inspiration or however you wanna look at it. So, well, first tech glitch. Okay, so, wow, it's kind of like driving on the west side past my billboard. Okay, so my tiptoe into real estate started when I was just a teenager, actually. I was in Australia. So after high school, I went traveling instead of jumping into the workforce or going to university. And there were 6 of us in 6 Canadians all traveling around. We were staying in hostels and we were paying $30 a night each to have, cooperative showers and cooperative bedrooms. And, it's a pretty rough scene. If you've ever backpacked, you know the deal. So one day I did the math, okay? 6 times 30 is $180 a night times 30 days. Collectively, our little group was spending over $5,000 a month on accommodation. So I walked down my first experience with a real estate agency. I went down to the local real estate agency at 18 and I said, hey, what have you got for houses that we can rent? And they looked me up and down with my board shorts on and they're like, nada. So I said, no, come on, we're good. We're a solid group of Canadians, played the Canada card. And lo and behold, don't know why she did. She took me around to look at some houses. I ended up putting my name on a lease for 6 months for $3,000 a month. And then it was a 6-bedroom house. So I rented the other 5 bedrooms out for $600 a piece and lived for free. Simultaneously, I was working at a nightclub that was also a supper club. So I had the privilege of really not paying for food or drinks anywhere in town. So as a consequence, I was saving some money. Everything was going great. And then I got deported. We overstayed our work visas. So now I'm calling my dad. I'm like, I gotta come home. What the heck am I gonna do? And he says, well, we'll figure that out. And I said, well, where am I gonna live? I can't move back in with you guys. Like, I'm 19 years old. I'm not moving back in with my parents. And he's like, well, why don't you just do what you're doing there, but do it here, buy a house. I'm like, buy a house? How the heck am I gonna do that? So I get home, I apply for a mortgage. No, you got no credit, pal. You're not getting a mortgage. So I find a buddy. My buddy had great credit and we pooled our resources and we bought a 6-bedroom house. Rented out some rooms, lived for free. In fact, we were making $1,200 a month on this place and living for free. So that was kind of my foray into real estate. I was 19 years old. I bought my first house, big feather in my cap. And going through that process, I kind of enjoyed it. Now I got to figure out what the heck am I going to do for work? So I call my dad again. I was like, you got any leads for me? He goes, yeah, my real estate agent will hire you. He'll give you an interview anyway. So who was my dad's real estate agent? Wade Webb. So my dad, of course, calls Wade, leans on him to give me an interview. Wade graciously agrees. So I go into Wade's office, and he's going through the motions, this 19-year-old punk in front of him, and he's asking me questions. And at the end, he just looks me in the eye and he says, you would make the worst real estate assistant I've ever met. Like, bar none, the worst. I'm sort of taken aback. He goes, but you might make a good agent. He goes, you might want to stick a baby on board sign and some animal crackers in your back seat just to give you some credibility, which I didn't really understand until 20 years later when I'm not doing showings anymore. Now I actually have those things. In any case, I had no idea where to start with that. So he put me in touch with a guy by the name of David Green. Who in this room knows David Green? Okay, a couple of you guys. So he's the most GQ looking bastard you ever met in your life. Suit, pea coat, driving a Beamer, 6'4", right off the runway in New York, right? So I'm like, this guy was very impressive. A couple years older than me, and he was doing quite well. So I took him for lunch and just picked his brain. He told me, this is what it is. It's one glamorous coffee meeting to a glamorous lunch meeting to looking at $1 million homes and rating contracts. Oh, I can do that. So totally misled me, of course. In any case, I got licensed and started selling real estate at 20 years old. And I was at one point, I think I was 19 at one point with my license, so I was the youngest realtor in all of BC. And as a consequence, none of my friends were doing any business, so I couldn't prospect to my sphere of influence. I had to figure out some way to get business. So what did I do? I was taking, at the time, Royal LePage had a program called Start Track, which was led by Don Crompton, the previous owner, who was that old school 80s guy, door knocking, cold calling. So what else do? You do that. I did it, I got some business out of it. It's a freaking terrible way to do business. It's like painful, but I got the confidence that I could generate leads. Then I stumbled onto a system at the time, which was these direct response marketing, which was special free reports. You'd put them in the newspaper and it was 1-800 Kelowna, BC, do not hire a real estate agent until you've read this special free report, right? A little hokey, but again, this is 2002. So now the phone starts ringing, it's capturing people's numbers. So now instead of calling people from the white pages, I'm calling people that are responding to this report. They clearly have some interest. So I started doing some deals. And I did fairly well at Royal LePage and started winning some awards and was getting better year over year. And then I get called into Wade's office. Oh, what's this about? So I go in there thinking he's gonna pat me on the back or something. And he says, I gotta let you go, man. Okay, why? He's like, you're driving around without a driver's license. And I was. I had been prohibited from driving and I kept going, which was a bonehead thing to do, but something you do when you're 22 and you think you can't get busted. So he's like, man, you gotta go. So I still actually have the personal note that he wrote me, and it says, this is the first time I've ever had to fire a friend. Control the beast, you'll be okay. Still have the note. So next day, I'm a Remax guy, proud, red, white, and blue. So I start with Remax, and now the market's really starting to heat up. This is like when things really started to ramp up. So I'm selling homes, I get my assistant, I even had a buyer's agent, and I'm trying to build something. I'm starting to do more and more marketing, more lead generation, and things are really cranking. I have my team going, and so now, this is 2007, things are really rolling for me. I got my feet up by the pool, things are all good. We get a house under contract. There's in multiple offers, similar market to what we're in now, okay? 18 offers on a house, the whole deal. So we get this home under contract, I was a listing agent, and a backup offer comes in. Now, I made the biggest bonehead move of my career. I didn't check to see if this backup offer referenced the first offer. So technically I had 2 people with a legal right to purchase this home. So long story about this, but I ended up paying my people, they were flippers. That was kind of my niche. So I had people that were flipping a home. I was paying their mortgage because they had 2 houses at the time. This was a house they couldn't sell now because it was being disputed as to who could own it. Now, because I was paying their mortgage, they loved me. So they were going to Cliff and they were saying to the owner of Remax, saying, you gotta do something, you gotta help me. And he says, unless you're suing us, our lawyers don't get involved, which is true. So what do? They sue us. And they bumped into somebody who knew somebody who had gone through a similar experience. And that person advised them to go to the media. So then they go to the media. This was my first bad press. And but these people liked me because I was paying their mortgage and I had a good relationship with them, and they thought it was an honest mistake. So what do? They take my sign down when the news comes to their house, and then the news runs with RE/MAX sells a house twice. Great, thanks for taking care of me, but now I've got 150 RE/MAX agents that want to mutiny, right? Like now they're like, you just made a whole company look terrible, which they're not wrong. So I get called into Cliff's office. Hey, buddy. I gotta let you go. Oh man, okay. So I've been fired from Royal LePage and RE/MAX, and there's news out there about how I'm the biggest bonehead in the business. I said, okay, can I have 30 days to start my own brokerage? And he's like, sure, pal, good luck. And so what we do, I've got a 30-day shot clock. So I go and I lease a space on Ellis. I gotta have a managing broker. So I'm going through Connexus, which was the program we used before Matrix, trying to find someone with a managing broker's license that's not doing a ton of business, that I can maybe recruit quickly to come and be my managing broker. So I get that piece in place. I convince my buddy who's working at BMW to come be my partner to help share the cost of this thing. So I convince him to get licensed and do that. He was already taking his course, but I convinced him to come and own a brokerage before he'd even sold a home. And then we had to get this thing named. And it's like a week before we're supposed to open. And we submitted Marquee Realty, didn't get it. Submitted Action Realty, terrible name. I'm glad we didn't get any of these names. Didn't get it. So now I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my God, what are we gonna call this thing? I got a week before. I don't have a real estate license because you have to hang your license somewhere and nobody would touch me. I was nuclear. So I got a week to do this. I got to name this thing, come up with branding and everything. Now, because 2007 was so hot, naturally, what do you do when you're 25? You order an Aston Martin, right? That's what I did. So that's just an obvious move. You definitely want to do that. So anyway, I have this car sitting out front, and my buddy Adam comes down to the office and he says to me, what are you going to name this thing? I said, I actually don't know. I've been rejected from the 2 names that I wanted. He goes, why don't you just name it Vantage? And I'm like, dude, I can't name this place after my car. That's a douche move, like to the max. He goes, no, it's a good name. So I look up real quick Webster's dictionary of Vantage, and it says a commanding perspective. I'm like, okay, I can work with that. You'd want your agent or your brokers to have a commanding perspective. Okay, boom, now we have a name, and off we go. So we're pretty excited. We've got our new company. We paid this company from West Van to do our branding, and we were pretty excited about it. So we do our grand opening, and now it's April of 2008. What happened in April of 2008? Boom, the whole market just stops. Lehman Brothers are jumping out of towers. Banks are saying, we're not doing any lending. And it went from multiple offers on everything to you couldn't give a house away. There was just nothing happening. Who was in the market at that time? Jamie was for sure. Alyssa, I remember that. We were at Royal LePage. It's painful, right? So now I've got this new brokerage. I got a $2,700 a month car payment. I got a new $15,000 monthly nut on my new fancy brokerage, and nothing's selling. In addition to that, because it was 2007, I was making money, of course, I bought a new property and gutted it. So I have, hey, what's going on here? Can you go, I should come back on, nice. That tells you when you're long-winded. So I buy this property, I've gutted it, and it's totally gutted. The house I was living in, I knocked down because we're gonna do a development. This is all the stuff you do when you think there's no end in sight, right? Buy the car, become a developer, become a flipper, all these things. So now I've got demolished house that's gutted, huge car payment, huge, like, it was ugly. And I'm looking down the barrel of this, like, I can't see the forest for the trees. And I can actually remember kind of like the lowest point in 2008, late 2008 for me was, like you go home at night and you put your change in something, like does everybody have that? Like, we used to have more change before everything was cards. But I used to have this like blue glass thing, right? And I guess the best way to describe it looks like a big bong, but it was not. It was just a thing to put my change in. So I remember, and I would stuff toonies and loonies in there. It got to the point, I'm driving an Aston Martin with my own brokerage, being like the hero, and I literally had to dump this thing out. I'm not paying any of my bills. I just needed to put gas in the Aston so I could keep driving around. I had to dump this thing out and fill it with frickin' toonies and loonies. So it doesn't matter how broke anybody is, I've been broker than that. And all the rental properties that I had at this point, you couldn't sell them and they were underwater, right? So I was negative net worth, went from hero to zero in a real hurry. So now nothing's selling, okay? What are we gonna do? We gotta survive. Now, I had a lot of clients because I had been in the business now for 6 or so years, and so everybody's panic selling. So suddenly I've got 30, 40 listings. okay? But none of them were moving. And so I came up with this concept of trading. And I don't know if some of you guys came to some of my little Go Fish lunches where we would look at each other's inventory and I'd say, okay, well, I got a guy with a condo who's trying to get to a house. You got anybody with a house that's maybe trying to downsize or would be willing to take anything on trade for that? And enough desperation in the market, people start doing these deals, but they also started printing two ends on both sides, right? So this was the creative thing that kind of saved me. And then I started getting known as being kind of the creative guy. So I got into lease options and I got into vendor financing and things like that. So I was okay, I was able to survive because I started to shift and figure out those tactics. And got back to the point where I was selling some real estate again, but I had this brokerage and it was really not doing anything other than just being a place for me to do business. And Joel was doing his thing. He had his secretary, his marketing, his own branding. I had mine. And then we had a girl that worked for Vantage and its own managing broker, et cetera. And I'm sitting here, even though I'm selling lots of real estate, this is like 2011 now, we're doing okay. And I'm like, this doesn't make any frickin' sense. So I get this email from Plowman Team Systems, and it's their team out from Ontario. And so Michael Plowman, he works for me now. He's a partner. Actually, he doesn't work for me. He's my partner. And he sends this email, come to the team summit, right? So I'm like, okay, I love this kind of stuff. I like events. So I book my flight and I go. Fly to Niagara Falls and go to this event. And it blew my mind what he showed me. And so I thought, okay. The end of that it was a group's, it was my first foray into watching somebody sell from stage as well. And they sold a coaching program, which by the way, I'm not doing. There's no coaching program. You're getting sold nothing today. But that's what they were doing. They were selling their coaching program. So I took it. It was 36 grand. I didn't have the money, but I did it. I spent the 36 grand and I hired the coach. And I started to implement things. Inside sales, for example. Nick was working with me at the time and he was not wanting to be an inside sales agent. So we roped in his buddy, Evan. And Evan still works with us now. He's one of our top guys. Evan didn't like the job. He wanted to be an agent. So then we brought in Simon. Simon was our next ISA, right? And Simon will do $1 million in commission this year. He didn't stick in the ISA role very long, but that was kind of how it all started. And we had Michael come on a 90-day program and he kind of shaped this whole new thing. And we actually started treating it like a business, not just based on my ability to put deals together anymore, which I did that for almost 10 years. I was just the agent with some charisma that could put some deals together. That's it. I didn't own a business. I didn't really have anything tangible, no procedures, no systems, nothing. So Michael came and he brought that to our business. And that is really what's allowed us to scale from doing 60 transactions a year to now having a team doing over 600. It's putting these things in place. And that's what I want to share with you guys today. I want to show you some of the tactics, some of the strategies, and some of the systems that we've used, and hopefully that you guys can put that into your business and have whatever success it is that you're looking for. Because this business has been really, really good to me. I love the real estate business, and I want to elevate this group. I want to elevate our industry. I really want this industry to be around for a long time. There's a lot of people and a lot of companies trying to come for our supper right now. They're trying to disintermediate us. And so I want to see this industry thrive for a long time because it's been awesome to me and it's going to be awesome to everybody in this room. So with that out of the way, let's get rolling. We'll do a little thought exercise first. What do you want? More time or more money?
Efficient money.
Efficient money, that's a good one. Hands up for money. It's not, yeah, okay. Hands up for time. Nice, okay. Hey, what about both? There you go, someone switched on. Well, the simple fact is you kind of buy time with money. Time's the new currency of wealth, but it actually takes a certain amount of money in order to buy it, okay? So I'm gonna teach you guys how to do both. Teach you how to earn more money and then teach you how to create the leverage to give you back your time. So why are you here? What are we gonna talk about? Well, first we're gonna talk about getting more business, okay? Getting more people in the top of the funnel, lead generation, lead conversion, that's kind of the stuff that we built our business on. Then, once you have more business, you gotta figure out how to service it, right? How to do it in a way that's scalable, a 5-star service that's repeatable and scalable. Then we're gonna talk about increasing the lifetime client value of each of your customers by way of reviews, by way of referrals, by way of repeat business. And then we're gonna put it all together, talk about building the business, the infrastructure, the leverage that you need, and the model that you'll use to give yourself back the time that you want. And then if we have a little bit of time at the end, as long as I don't tell any more 20-minute stories, we might have some time for questions and a mastermind. You guys are gonna wanna get to lunch, it'll be 1 o'clock. So the agenda is gonna look like this. We're gonna do lead gen, we're gonna do lead conversion, and talk a little bit about presentations, some of the tips and tricks we use there, then we'll take a break. Then we're gonna come back, go through service, transaction management, I believe, trust me, it's sexier than it sounds. And then we're gonna do past client, repeat referrals, and then get into the operating system. Sound good? Beauty. Okay, so first I wanna commend you guys for taking the time. Everyone's busy. October is a mental month, and taking the time to invest in yourself right now is a huge step, right? There's 50 people in this room, there's 1,500 realtors, okay? So you're part of a very elite group of people who in the busiest quarter of real estate still take the time to invest in themselves. And it's the people who do that who are going to win no matter what market we go into next. Everybody's got a business planning toolkit in front of you, okay? So these are the exact tools that we've used to grow and scale our business. There's a whole bunch of things that you've got here. There's notes that break all the modules down. I'm also going to send this to you in a digital file after the event. So you'll have it so that you can use it and implement it into your business year over year. But for the purpose of taking notes and just to get some early traction with it, you guys can use this booklet to take notes. So I'm gonna walk you through some of the stuff that's here. First, this is a business planning event. So in order to do that well, this feedback's no good. Can you guys still hear me okay like this?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. So in order to do business planning well, you kind of have to first know what it is that you need to achieve at the top line, right? And how do you come up with a top line number? Is it based on comparison with your friends? Is it a sexy number like $1 million or $500,000? Or is it based on your own unique needs? So top-down planning is looking at how much income do I need to service my personal goals, my business goals, and my investment goals, right? Once you've figured that out, then you take a step down, you say, okay, well, how many transactions will that require? And so you're gonna need to know what your average transaction value is. For the ease, I did a demonstration in here at $12,500. That's kind of an average transaction. And I built a model around $1 million business that you guys can follow along and see how the numbers flow, okay? Buyers versus sellers is the next thing you need to decide. Okay, if I'm gonna do 80 transactions, let's just say for a round number, how many of those are gonna come from buyers and how many are gonna come from sellers? After that, you got to figure out, okay, out of my 80 transactions, how many can I count on coming from my own center of influence? This is your repeat, your referral sphere stuff. And how many am I going to get from marketing? And so once you know that, then you can start to build a plan on both sides of that. And then you'll ultimately need to determine what your profit per transaction is and make sure that it covers what you're trying to accomplish. So that's an exercise you're gonna wanna do, and in the interest of time, I'm gonna let you guys do it on your own time because it's something you wanna put some real thought into. And there's a form in there that you can do, and then also digitally, you'll get the Excel sheet that auto calculates and all that stuff. But use this and add it up. So I mean, this is a $1 million example where maybe somebody has $1 million in top line revenue, they have personal expenses of $150,000, they got business expenses of $500,000. We'll talk more about the whole 50% of gross being business expenses. They've got an investing goal. They want to make $100,000, or they want to invest $100,000. And I highly recommend you make an investment goal every single year because I don't know if you guys know this, but there's no pension in this game. Nobody's coming for us to rescue us at the end of it. So the only way to ensure your future is to take the great income that you're making and translate that into real estate holdings or Bitcoin. I don't care what you buy, but as long as you have a good hedge against inflation and you're investing your capital in a leveraged way. Next, you got a savings goal. If you don't have a 3-month cushion, you need one. After that, your income tax, you'll know your own income tax based on the income that you want to make. You put that in. Special, maybe you want to plan for these kind of things. Are you going to go on a $20,000 trip? Do you want to buy a nice watch? Do you want to buy a car? Do you have something coming up that is important to you? You want to budget for that. And then charity, do you want to make a contribution, right? Do you want to do something in the community? Do you want to build a house for somebody, 3D print a house, whatever the case is. And then miscellaneous, just a little buffer. And what it all adds up to is the number you need to shoot for. So this is the exercise that all of our agents go through at the beginning of the year to try to figure out how many houses they need to sell. So it's a really important exercise that you start. Every business plan has to be based on your unique set of goals. Then we break it down into the ridiculous. I don't know if you guys can follow the numbers here. I'm glad the screen's big. But this is that $1 million business plan taken from top to bottom. And you can see we started $1 million, average transaction 12.5. Okay, we got to sell 80 homes. making it simple, 50-50 listings and buy sides. I gotta sell 40 listings, 40 buyer ends. That means I gotta carry on average 6 active listings and 6 active buyers. 80% of my listings will firm, right? And so you're going through this and you're planning every step of the way, all the way down to the amount of contacts per month you need to make. How do you get those contacts? Well, 1 in 5 people that you pick up the phone and try and call are gonna answer. So you put the 20% there, that tells you gotta make 295 outbound calls. And then how long does it take to make a call? Well, 5 minutes. Now you got 1,400 minutes. You have this in your, it's sent to you, brother. But this breaks it all the way down. And so you can see right at the bottom, an hour a day of prospecting for listings, 2 hours a day of prospecting for buyers, and you could do the entire $1 million business plan based on that prospecting effort, right? So it breaks it all down. These numbers are based on the data we've compiled at Vantage over the last 8 years of doing this, literally thousands upon thousands of appointments, thousands upon thousands of listings taken. So these are our numbers. Your numbers will differ. And so that's why you have a scorecard. And part of what you're gonna get, both digitally and in your book, is this weekly scorecard, okay? This is where you actually take your business plan and you measure it on a weekly basis. And you go through your whole funnel from top to bottom, and you look at how many leads were generated, how many leads came into the funnel, how many contacts did you make, right? How many appointments did you book, all the way down to firm business and through to testimonials, reviews, right? So this scorecard is gonna give you something to be able to quickly diagnose where the hole in the bucket is, if there is one. If you're not selling the homes, you'll be able to tell based on the goal and what's not congruent with what you said you were gonna do. And then you'll see trends. You have a 4-week average, 12-week average. So this is a really handy tool. We've been using it for 8 years. Michael and I, every Tuesday morning, we go through this, actually Nick as well, and we try to figure out where the hole in the bucket is with the business, okay? It provides a really nice level of accountability, which I know you guys all really want. 4 pillars audit. This is something that we use at the beginning of every year to try and figure out where we are. So this is a tool I want you guys to use. Now, if you're new to the business or if you don't have a business, this is gonna help frame it in a way where you can start to look at your practice as if it's a business. And so you'll go through and give yourself a score, right? What do you score yourself out of 5 on lead generation? And all the way through, right? So you've got a sales and marketing pillar, you've got a operational pillar, finance pillar, and then eventually your executive leadership, which is clarity in your business about where you're going, what your mission is, what your values are. This is the clarity that you need to get everybody, because if you are gonna build an organization, you gotta get everybody rowing in the same direction. You'll score yourself out of 100. And you set goals to get a little bit better. Rome's not built in a day. You're not gonna go from 0 to 100, but you can know where you are, and having that awareness, giving you guys the visibility of where you stand in relation to these things is gonna allow you to start treating your business like a business. And then lastly, this is that vision traction organizer. So this sheet, again, it's in here and you'll get a digital copy of it. This is the thing that we charted the course for Vantage on. When we 10x'd our business over 10 years, it was based on this document, which comes from a book called Traction. So if you wanna read a great book, that book is one of the best business books that I've ever read, Traction by Gino Wickman. And this is called the Vision Traction Organizer. It's a 2-page document. This 2-page document will actually be more than you need in terms of a 2-page business plan to build your business to any heights. Okay, so where are we going? What's coming next? I have the unique kind of, I guess, opportunity or privilege to rub shoulders with some of the best brokers and team leaders in North America, in the world actually. In our little networking group, 7 of the top 10 brokerages, small team brokerages exist, and that's the John Sheplack coaching group. And so we have a bit of a mastermind, and I get to hear what these guys are going through. Now, the majority of them are in the US, and the majority of them are facing problems from market disruptors, okay? So what are the market disruptors that they're dealing with? First one is this thing called listing advocate. And I'm gonna break that down for you a little bit more, but this is this idea of showing up and becoming kind of a conduit to all these other tech companies. The next one is Ribbon. So ribbon.com, this is guaranteed offers. These are intermediary buyers that are trying to remove the friction from a transaction. They're buying homes, they're letting people become guaranteed buyers, and they're inserting themselves into the transaction, which is taking control at the front end of where that business goes. They have their own realtors in-house, and it won't be long before they are just a brokerage. And then you've got the Redfin model, of course. They're already here in Canada. They're looking to place themselves at the center of the transaction and then use realtors sort of a la carte to pick off little things, and they're paying them salaries, looking to drive the cost down and try to remove the friction from the real estate transaction. So, and then lastly, and the biggest one that they're dealing with is iBuyers. Who here knows what an iBuyer is? Okay, so about half the room. So I stands for institutional. The institutional buyers are a huge, huge piece of the US real estate puzzle right now, and they're growing exponentially. So the big players, and there's over 50 players, but the big three are Zillow Offers, Opendoor, and OfferPad. Okay, Opendoor was the first one, then OfferPad, then Zillow Offers. Obviously Zillow has so much funding that they've been able to buy a ton of market share really quickly. So we're gonna have to adapt. Right? It's adapt or die, right? That's the deal. This is who I feel like right now. I'm kind of channeling Grandpa Simpson. When I started in the business, no joke, 2002, it doesn't sound like very long ago, I had a pager. The contracts literally were the perforated edged ones where you like pull the edges off, and they were carbon copy. That's where that saying, sign here, press hard, the bottom copy's yours, came from. And we were fancy if we used the fax machine to send stuff, but usually it was just get in the car, go drive to the client, and get them to sign. You did most of the business was all done kneecap to kneecap. And so, it's funny, as technology's gone, thankfully I got into business young, so I'm still relatively young. So I've been able to stay in touch and keep step with the technologies as it's come, but I often feel like this guy down at Vantage, and a little bit here today as well. So prop tech is the big buzzword. Does everybody know the concept of property technology? The reason why there's so much action in prop tech is because they've figured out, should have been our secret, but we didn't keep it under wraps, that real estate commissions in North America, the amount of commerce that exists there is 30 times the size of the entire market of eBay. So it's attracting a lot of people into the space who want to get their piece of it, right? And there's a fairly underserved public that doesn't really understand why we get paid as much as we do, and that's our fault. Is we've failed to properly articulate our value to the marketplace, and so they're actually looking for solutions that don't involve us. And so these guys are filling the need. They're not actually the enemy. They're actually filling a need that people are asking for. So prop tech is the thing to watch out for. So I mentioned Zillow Offers. This is the homepage of their website now. They've completely pivoted their business to sell your home directly to us. So they started in the game. They're realtor's best friend. You come on our site, you can be a trusted realtor of Zillow. That was kind of how they Trojan horsed their way in. Check out our Zestimate tool. And then slowly but surely, they started cutting the realtors out. Now they're their own brokerage, and they buy direct. Okay, realtors play a very, very minute part, and they're Zillow realtors, they're on salary. Okay, so that's Zillow. They're in Canada already. Thankfully, our data privacy laws are keeping them back a little bit because their tools don't work as good here, but they will figure it out. They have billions of dollars. Talking about iBuyer activity, just to see, if you look post-COVID from Q3 2020 onward, you can see a doubling of this. This is called exponential growth. Quarter over quarter, iBuyers in the US are doubling. And you can see the blue one is still Opendoor. They're still the market leader. Zillow is doing their best to catch up. Okay, so iBuying is a very real trend. Ribbon, I talked about them. So these guys here are same thing, Trojan horse into the business. Use our compare all offers tool to realtors. The realtor's best friend. Save deals by making your clients all cash, right? If your clients aren't an all cash buyer, we'll buy the house for them, and then we'll sell it back to them for a couple points premium. That's kind of their business model. Well, pretty soon they're gonna own the whole value chain as well. So that's something that these guys are very well funded. They've just done a big Series C raise, and they've got lots of money behind them to start buying homes. And that's what they're gonna do. This strategy I actually like, and I like it for the reason that it actually keeps us at the center of the transaction. So this is that listing advocate that I was telling you about. But rather than being a one-trick pony, the idea now is that a listing advocate would go to the person's home and have a smorgasbord of options for them to consider. So one might be an instant cash offer. Okay, you don't like that offer? What else can we do? Okay, well, we could do a fix and list. That means we'll actually give you the money and bring in our contractors to make your home. You can flip your own home. You got to move out of it, but we'll flip it and we'll get you the most amount of money for it. And they charge a premium on that. Or we can do a sell and stay. Maybe you just want to capitalize on the market, but you don't want to move. I've got an investor that'll buy your house and just rent it back to you, no problem. So that's a sell and stay. Similar to that would be a reverse mortgage where you don't actually sell it, you just start drawing down on it. And so they start providing these options. So you show up and the listing presentation isn't about your marketing plan anymore, it's about your options. This is a big one in the US. It's taking off in a big, big way, and they're franchising this listing advocate very quickly. I know the CEO, he's out of Phoenix, Arizona, and this thing has got huge, huge legs. So it's coming. And so we can borrow from that, right? The idea is we become the Swiss Army knife. We become the agent with a lot of tools. And when we show up to a listing presentation, we have options that we can present instead of just being and relying on the one-trick pony. We talked about Redfin already, right? They got this sell for 1%. Again, they're doing this a la carte thing where they're keeping their technology and their platform at the center. And then they're saying, oh, by the way, we can dispatch an agent to negotiate that contract, or we can dispatch an agent to show you this house, okay? That is not the model that we want because, again, it ignores the value that this group provides. We provide a lot more value than just opening doors for people and writing contracts, okay? But this concept that all these tech companies have is that we provide little more value than just being, house waiters, essentially. So, Canada already has an iBuyer, by the way. In fact, they've got two. This is the big one, the first VC-backed one called Properly. And they're doing the same thing. They're their own brokerage. You sell direct to them, and then they help you buy. And they exist right now in Toronto and in Calgary. And these guys follow the same business model as Opendoor and OfferPad, okay? What all of the iBuyers have in common, in my opinion, is that they're all very sensitive to a market correction. Right? Because they're buying homes and they're paying as much as they possibly can for them because they're trying to buy market share, right? They're trying to make 3% on a house, which is really what we make without having to buy them, right? That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to buy their way into the scene, but then they have to buy that house, they got to inventory that house for a period of time, and then they have to resell it and incur costs to do that. That's why they're their own brokerage, so they can mitigate that cost. But they're trying to eke out a similar margin that we would get just selling the house, brokering it. So if that market does turn down 5%, 10% over a period of time, these guys are hugely sensitive, okay? So I've actually been mucking around with my own iBuyer for a little while. Some of you guys may have seen this. So Cash Offer Canada is a group of investors that work with me, and we created our own iBuyer. So it's very similar. And this is just me just trying to understand this market, and I've also used this to back our guaranteed sale program. But this tool, now showing up to listing presentations and having the ability to offer the instant offer or to use the guaranteed sale, that kind of thing, has become a big differentiator for us to be able to get that business. So this is coming very, very much so, and so it's good to there'll be more players. You'll have wholesalers that'll pay cash for houses. You should align yourself with somebody that'll do that so that you can offer that for people who want that, especially if we go into a downturn market, people are gonna wanna hit the easy button. So align yourself with an iBuyer, and there's gonna be lots of them to do that with in the not too distant future. But here's the truth bomb. If you're worried, if that just scared the living shit out of you, if Redfin and Zillow all coming for our lunch, if that scares you, you're missing the big picture, right? Because the reality of it is, it's a value exchange. These guys will only eat our lunch if we fail to properly explain and articulate our value to the public. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna talk about how do we get our value articulated to the public, and how do we put those systems in place so we can deliver it at scale. So staying relevant, how do we do it? There's a number of different ways. First and foremost, master negotiation, okay? It actually amazes me how our industry has sort of devolved, I would say, because we no longer do the carbon copy contracts, we rely too heavily on technology. We have this kind of program where we send an offer and we shoot somebody a quick text saying, hey, sent you an offer, can you just confirm receipt? That's the extent of our negotiation. Okay, negotiating is the most referable skill we have. It is the most core competency that we do. Invest in becoming a good negotiator. There are some badass negotiators in this room. I can look around. Paul's one of them, for sure. Our top negotiator on our team, we actually track this. We have an award called Chief Negotiator. And anyways, we track what their buyers pay and what their sellers get. And our top guy, Simon Ward, he won it last year. You know what he's doing right now as we speak? He's doing a Harvard level course on negotiations. It's pretty cool, but he's investing in himself because he knows it doesn't matter what market you're in, and particularly in a slow market when houses aren't selling, you can carve out a marketplace for yourself by being known as a great negotiator. And that doesn't mean that you're a dickhead about it like I was. It just means you're good at it. There's multiple ways to be a great negotiator. So after negotiations, this is a mental shift. Be the guide, okay? So many of us want to be the center of the transaction. The reality of it is we need to become good at guiding people through a consultative process. We have to stop seeing ourselves as salespeople and start seeing ourselves as guides. So this is a mental shift, but when Redfin and these salaried agents are not equipped to be the guide, okay? They're not there. They're not at the center of the transaction. They're just parachuting in to handle one portion of it. If you're the guide, you're bringing someone from beginning to end and landing them safely where they want to go. That is a skill that remains at the center and remains valuable in any market. Next one, we talked about this already, have a variety of solutions, okay? You gotta know some creative stuff. For me, I remember in 2009 when nothing was selling, the investment I made I bought a course called A Fortune at Your Feet, it was called. And it talked about rent to own and vendor financing and zero down and all the different things that you could do to be creative. That course saved my bacon because I wasn't a one-trick pony anymore. I actually had some other tools to bring into a meeting. Become a renovation guru, or at least become really good at helping people visualize what's possible with a property. Because I can't tell you how many times just through my own experience flipping homes where I've been able to do a deal or save a deal by being able to visualize and coordinate construction and give people on the fly sort of budgets and estimates of what things cost. But this is a very valuable skill, okay? The AI is not gonna do this for people, okay? So being able to actually walk people through a renovation process and show them where the latent value is and how they can force appreciation on their real estate, that's a very referable skill and it's a very valuable skill. Same with investment analysis. You should be able to quantify a home based on its ROI or its cap rate. You gotta see beyond beds and baths because a lot of people, especially in a market downturn, are looking at property based on its investment component. So there's lots of books you can get on this, but get the education around real estate investment so that you can speak the language of the investor. Next is becoming an authority. So especially when things get hard, people will gravitate towards the authority or they'll look for people who communicate strength, who seem to have an understanding of where the market's going. And so you do this through market updates, you do this through communicating that you're on the pulse of the market, okay? So becoming an authority, again, AI is not gonna do that for people. No whiz-bang platform is gonna do that for people. You wanna separate yourself and become the authority. Become a referral hub. My brother Nick's the best example of this that I've seen. He's 10 times better than I ever was at it. But people call Nick to get a car. People call Nick to figure out where to go for dinner. It's probably really annoying, but he gets a lot of business from the fact that he's the connector, right? He's got a massive Rolodex of people he can connect people with. And in doing that, you invoke the rule of reciprocity. Because he's connecting so many people, well, they want to do the same for him, right? And so that's a really valuable skill, becoming a connector. So you want to hone that skill. Empathy. That's something an AI will never have, at least not for a while. So what we need to realize is, we desensitized to the real estate transaction. I was really guilty of this. It wasn't until I actually sold my own house and became the irritating seller myself that I got to, I grew the empathy that it required to do this at a high level. But knowing that we're catching people, and I think prop tech companies, they miss this. They think that everybody just wants direct access to each other and they want to remove the middleman. What they're missing is when people buy and sell homes or when they move, it usually correlates with a life event. They've had a child, gotten married, right? Maybe there's a divorce, maybe there's a death, maybe they're downside, they're empty nesters now. It usually correlates with some major life event, right? And so a person who develops empathy and can bring people through a process where, let's be honest, these people are not at their best during this period of time, right? And what they don't need is direct access to a seller while they're at their stressed, right? Two unreasonable people who are both stressed because of their own unique set of circumstances colliding, it's not what we need. But the agents that will survive this are gonna be the ones that develop empathy. And then lastly, consider becoming a specialist. Develop your own niche. I'm not saying you go all in on it. You're still gonna wanna do all sorts of business, especially in the beginning, but really start to come up with your own niche or be a specialist. So My belief is if you pick a niche, it doesn't actually take that long to start owning it. My experience was was doing it with investments. Okay, so I kind of became the investment guy back in sort of 2009, and I started just putting out content. It took 6 months to a year before I started to attract business based on the YouTube videos I was doing, and I became kind of the real estate investment guy. There's lots of niches that you can pick, and it doesn't take that long to get traction. The important thing is you got to look and see if there's an available parking space. So when you look at the niche you want, then you got to look, is that parking space available? So the prime example would be, let's say you all decided you wanted to be the lakeshore specialist in Kelowna, right? You pull up to the parking lot and you see a big body Audi sitting in that spot, right? You're not getting that spot. That's a Jane Hoffman joke, you guys didn't get it? Okay, you're not getting that spot. And it might be hard to knock me off the investment side of it. Maybe you could. But the point is, look for something where there's an available parking space. You're gonna make your life a lot easier when you do it that way. So let's brainstorm some examples of niches that you could own quite quickly. Farms, 100%. Kelowna condos, I like it. What else?
Relocation.
Yes, relocation for sure. What else? New construction, nailed it. Downsizing, I like it. That's totally.
Business in homes.
In-home businesses, yeah. So this graph here, I'd have to think about that one. So this graph here, you look at the total addressable market, okay? So it's really easy for me, simple math. Let's say there's 10,000 transactions a year, 10% of them are going to investors, that's 1,000 investment transactions a year. If I want to carve off 50 deals out of that for myself, that's 5%. It's a reasonable number to try to get if you become the person in that niche. To get 5% of the total addressable market, you could probably get that fairly quick, right? So I know that math works, right? So that's the math you want to do. You could do it with downtown condos. You could do it with first-time buyers. We know 18% of buyers right now are first-time buyers. You could become a first-time buyer specialist. You could pack this room and talk about and do a 30-minute presentation on first-time buyers and tell them everything they need to know, right? You could do that very easily and own that market. You could become a downtown condo specialist. So some of you guys nailed pretty much all of these. You could do an investor specialist. Vacation property would be a good one. There's a lot of people looking to do the Airbnb play. So that's sort of a hyper niche beyond investment. That's going really insane. I'm the Airbnb expert. I sell, here are the buildings that I sell, and I know everything that there is to know about it, and I have all the contacts that you would need in order to do it. Become the person, right? You could do that. New build specialist, that one got said. Interprovincial relocation specialist, so yeah, like just relocations, for sure. We know that 22% of our market right now is as a relocation from out of province. So definitely there's thousands of transactions. You could grab a big piece of that. Downsizer specialist. You got more people reaching retirement age now and for the next 10 years than ever before in human history. Definitely going to be a well-served market for the next 10 years. And this one's more just kind of tongue-in-cheek, but if I was going to get back in the game, I would want to be the modern mansion specialist. I only want to sell or look at very modern mansions. That's it. No, I don't think there'd be a real market there. So now we're going to shift gears. That's all kind of like mind-opening, conceptual stuff. I'm going to start going now into more granular stuff that you can implement. So no matter who you talk to, doesn't matter if it's a person doing $1 million or $10 million in GCI, at the highest level, success will always come down to systems. Your talent will only take you so far. For me, I reached my ceiling of complexity at around 100 transactions based on talent. I couldn't go any past that. I just didn't have the systems for it, couldn't deliver the service in a consistent way. So it all comes down to systems. So we're gonna go through them. It is basically a 7-component system from lead generation all the way down to your operating systems. So let's start with leads. Okay, and yeah, feel free to take notes through this, and then this will form part of your tactical plan at the end. So in the lead generation space, I feel well qualified to talk about this because in my last 10 years, I've probably generated roughly 500,000 leads and spent millions of dollars on it. And I've played the game, I've wasted a ton of money and I've invested a ton of money wisely, and I've kind of made all the mistakes. So I really know where the center of the bullseye is now for lead generation, and it's ever changing. So this order of things actually is an inverse from what it was 5 years ago. So right now, content is king. 5 years ago, I would have said forced registration on a website is king. Now it's content. The vast majority of the leads that come in now are coming by way of content that we produce, okay? After that, is mining your database. And if you're generating lots of leads, this isn't just your past clients, this is just all of the people in your database. Becoming really good at effectively mining that database will bubble up opportunity to the top. And after that, what used to be first, I would now put third, which is driving as much traffic as you can to a website that has forced registration, and then having those leads go into your CRM and working them like a bugger. That's the third component. But really, these three things are all you need in terms of a lead generation strategy to grow your business. So let's talk content first, okay? Probably the most effective thing that I do are the market updates. You probably have seen them. I send them out, and people appreciate the wisdom, and it usually goes further to a question like, oh, can you tell me what my house is worth, or is now a good time to buy? These types of things. So it elicits a response, but it is a pull marketing versus a push, right? Forced registration is pushing people, squeezing them through a page. This is pull, attraction marketing, right? So you cut one video one time, highly leveraged thing to do, and then you upload it to YouTube, and then you market it on all the different channels that you have. Simple. Next is thought leadership. So instead of just doing market updates, you start putting together videos that are evergreen. The 5 things every buyer needs to know before they purchase, or the 3 things that every seller needs to do if they want to get multiple offers on their home. These types of things are evergreen. They sit on the different platforms, and they just continue to attract clientele to you because you're providing thought leadership. You're giving value in advance, people come in, okay? And then lastly, this is the easiest one, the low-hanging fruit. It's just the curation of the news, okay? You can do that by just watching, having a whole bunch of Google alerts set up for different things, and curating the news for people in your feed. So everybody on your Facebook list, everybody on your LinkedIn, everybody in your Instagram is gonna see this news, and you're providing that news to the marketplace. This won't be as effective as the first two, but if you're deathly afraid of video, this will still be an effective strategy, content strategy. What is not content, however, this is a public service announcement, is marketing that you just sold a house on social media. Everybody gets it. The market's hot. Yeah, realtors are making tons of money. At this point, I think it's more just irritating to people, to the public. It certainly isn't making them want to do more business with us. It's not making them go, oh, I want to pick up the phone and call this person. So I think it is possible for us to, maybe move away from this sort of braggadocious style marketing and provide value instead. Now, I want to make the case for video. Okay, the reason why I like it is because I'm lazy. Okay, and I like the fact that you can start with video and it becomes a number of other things. Not dissimilar to why we're recording this event right now. This will become content later for me. It'll get spliced and diced. What you can do when you start with a video is you post the video. Great, now it's there, it's evergreen. Then you could chop it up into smaller segments that you can use for Instagram stories or reels, right? You can use smaller little segments of it. So now you've got little mini videos from it. Then you could take the audio file from that video and you've got a WAV file. You can make a podcast out of it. So you're meeting people where they are. People consume content differently. Some people don't want to watch or hear anything. They want to read. That's their style. So great, you take the transcript of what you just posted as a video. You send the transcript over to a professional writer and you say, can you make this nice for me? You pay them $40 for the hour, and out pops a beautiful blog post on the other side that you can use and post, right? And it's not identical wording to your video, but it's close enough. And then you take the transcription and you read through it and you go, oh, that makes a good quote card, or that could make, and now you've got little quote cards that you can use for your Instagram. So all of your content for the whole year can come from, a handful of videos that you do, that you invest the time in. So it really is a lazy man strategy. I know when people see my videos, they go, holy crap, that looks like a lot of work. It must be painful to have to do that. It's really not that tough. You set the camera up and you have a few bullet points off in the distance and you read them and off you go. Now, we obviously, all this lead generation stuff, everyone knows this person, right? We would all love to just not be in the lead generation game and just be in the game of all my clients come to me, I'm all by referral. Great, that's wonderful. But it's missing the whole system. Referrals and repeat business is a part. It's the advocacy program of this flywheel, but it is not the whole program. And the reason why it's not the whole program is because when you are the sole center of the universe and everything, you can't go away, you can't go on holiday. If you stop selling, your business stops. If you go on holiday for 2 weeks, you come back to a nightmare, or you have a shitty holiday, right? Those are your options when you're the center. If you don't have the systems, if you don't have the leverage, if repeat and referral business is all you do, you become somewhat of a slave to your business. So my contention is become great at generating new opportunity, obsess about delivering a 5-star experience at scale with a proven system, and then implement an advocacy program that feeds back up into the new opportunity, and round it goes. This is the flywheel effect. Simple fact is the purpose of a business is to get a client that creates more clients. That's the flywheel effect in action, right? This is the best definition of a business I've ever seen, and this is what we've sort of built Vantage on. We heavy on the lead gen, and then we try to service the living crap out of them, and then we work that referral process to continue to add more to the top. Okay. Generating leads costs a fair amount of dough. There's some stuff you can do that's free, okay? That's your center of influence. Let's talk about how to generate that more, but doing it in an intentional way. I think a lot of us right now, especially as we get longer in the tooth, and maybe we've done 500 transactions, we kind of expect 40, 50 deals are gonna fall off a log every year, and we don't do a lot of proactive activity anymore. That's kind of the business. But until that point, there's some proactive things that you can do to encourage this. The first thing, this is a really tactical one, you'll like this. This is called the Big Purge. I just did this. I'm gonna send you a link to a document that'll walk you through step-by-step how to do this. But I think when we all started, we maybe put our database on paper, maybe made an Excel sheet, 100 names, 200 names, whatever we came up with. We uploaded that into our CRM. I hope you're using a CRM. And that was it. And then after that, we just kind of added people sort of ad hoc as we went. But that initial database wasn't the whole deal. Go through your phone contacts. Export your whole phone contact list. Go through your Outlook or your Gmail. Export all of those into, and it's just a CSV file export from all of these. You can go into Facebook, and again, this document I'm gonna send you walks you through step by step the tech side of it. Export your top 1,000 connections, and you will see suddenly that you've got 2,000, 2,500 people on a list, right? These people all that know you, like you, trust you. Some of them you're only gonna have phone numbers for. So you take the phone numbers and you put them into a mass texting, and you say a text something like, hey, I was just updating my contact list. I realize I don't have your updated email. Can you shoot me back your most updated email? Great. Some people are gonna reply, some people aren't. That's okay. You're dealing with such a huge number that you're gonna triple the size of your database even with a 20% response rate. Now you got some people who you only have email addresses from them. Similar question. Hey, I'm just updating my contact list, don't have an updated cell number for you. What would be the best place for me to text valuable real estate information to? Boom, you get their cell number. And so you're completing this whole deal, right? Then, the next cool little hack is this radius search. Super free, probably one of the coolest tools you can implement right away. In Matrix, you can set up a search, right? A 1 kilometer radius around a particular property. Set everybody that you have their address up, with their permission, of course, with a 1 kilometer radius. And it makes for a great call when you phone them up. You say, hey, I've got this great new tool that my clients are loving. And what I can actually do is draw a 1 kilometer radius around your house. And that way I can send you a monthly digest of all the homes that have either sold or been listed in your area. It'll only come monthly, and that way you always know exactly what's going on in your area. Would you be interested in that? They all say yes, and now you've got a branded thing that's going out to them every single month, keeping you top of mind. It's totally free, it's automated, highly leveraged thing to do. So get as many addresses as you can on that. It makes for a great phone call. It's a really easy call to make to your people. I've got this great new tool, you're super excited about it, and get them all signed up on this. That basically builds a fence around your people. You don't have to worry about them coming into one of my funnels and ending up in my inside sales. Real estate related goals call. Hugely powerful in the first quarter of the year, okay? I think go through your database in January and you have this call. If you don't like to pick up the 10,000 pound phone, which I highly recommend you get over that, but if you don't, BombBomb is another one where you can do it in a highly leveraged way, where you can film a video once and send it out to your people. And the call goes something like this. Hey John, it's AJ here calling. I just wanted to take a quick minute to call my best folks and just sort of get a sense of what they want to accomplish in this upcoming new year. I'm really excited about the year ahead. I just wanted to find out, what real estate related goals do you have for 2022? Oh, I don't know. Well, maybe some of my folks are thinking about renovating. Always lean into me for that. I've got some great contractors. Some of my folks are wanting to refinance and capture some of their gains. I can hook you up with a mortgage broker if you need it. Some of my folks are actually thinking about making an investment or maybe downsizing or upsizing. So is there anything that you could see yourself doing over the next year that I should be aware of? right? So you're offering value, and now you're asking them, do I need to be thinking about you for the next 12 months in any way? And now you call a couple hundred people and you have that conversation, you will leave that month with the quiet confidence that your whole year is made. You know, right? Nick, we call it the wealth list, right? You go through this thing and you go, okay, here's this list of people, 50, 60 deep, that all say they're gonna do something, right? It's a very powerful tool. Do this at the beginning of the year because you can always call with the excitement of a new year. It just really works well in January. Usually you have a little extra time on your hands in January as well because the market's not that hot. So the real estate related goals call, and if you're a lazy shit, do it as a bomb video. And then quarterly market updates thereafter. This is just a great way to stay in touch. So if you've got somebody on a radius search, they're getting a quarterly market update that gets pushed out to them. You're providing so much value. They're not going anywhere. You're giving them a personalized phone call every year to make sure you want to be in tune with their goals, and you're hitting them with a market search. You don't need any other tools. Okay, hang on here. Now we're on to the last piece of the puzzle, the third one, which is getting people to your website, generating leads. This is kind of what it would look like to fulfill that $1 million example that I put in the thing. So if you wanted to do half your 80 deals from lead generation, your expected conversion on leads, 1.5%, it's fairly average. You got to generate 2,800 leads. Your cost per lead would be $15 on average. You got to be willing to spend 42 grand on leads to send them to a website. Okay, this opens the next conversation now. Is that how you want to do business? Do you want to be the person that sends 100 people to a website, hits them with a paywall, and then it's like trade your contact information or get out of here, right? And so now you got to know 5% of them are going to come through for sure, but 95 of them are going to bounce, right? The content side of it is a way better strategy. You cast a way wider net and you just let them come to you versus squeezing people through this funnel. Don't get me wrong, we still use this because I have a lot of hungry mouths to feed and we got to keep the lead machine rolling. But this is the third prong now on the attack. So how do you do it? Pay-per-click is still the gold standard. If you're gonna get in the lead generation game, Google pay-per-click is numero uno. I shouldn't be telling you that because it's just gonna drive my cost of ads up, but this is the number one. SEO is more expensive initially than pay-per-click, but as you gain authority and as you gain that organic placement for certain search terms, then you actually don't need to spend money on Google anymore. People find you by way of search. So investing in SEO would be the next thing. You'll get immediate traction with PPC, reinvest some of the profits into SEO, and then your overall cost per lead will come down because you'll get a blend of organic and paid. And then lastly, Facebook. A lot of people think Facebook marketing is dead. I like Facebook just as a traffic generator. You post listings, you can do carousels that put listings in front of the right people, and it sends them back to the website, and the website makes them register. That simple. So Facebook's just a good referral site to your website, which will handle the lead gen. I don't like leads on Facebook. I find them to be a waste of time. Just telling you guys that now. Following up with people in Messenger and all that stuff, it's a huge time vampire. And I've tried it now for 4 years, spent close to $250,000 trying to perfect it with bots and all this shit. It doesn't work. Bottom line. You have to see your lead generation as a system, right? It's essentially a funnel. From leads to how many of those leads that you connect with, how many of the people that you connect with do you book into an appointment? That is the goal. How many of those people show up to that appointment, okay? How many of those people that show up to the appointment sign an agency agreement or become a client? And then how many of those clients that you start the process with become sold customers? This is the 6-part value chain. You gotta obsess about each of these numbers, and that is what's in the business plan for you guys too. So you can see our numbers and you can use the scorecard to determine what your numbers are and slowly get better over time. But these are the things you need to know. If you're gonna get in the lead generation game, you can't half-ass it. You can't do it without tracking. There's no possible way to do it. You have to be obsessed with this kind of thing in order to do it at any level. This is what the funnel might look like on $1,000 worth of paid traffic, right? You try and generate 120 leads. You try to connect with 80% of them. You try to get 10% of them to come to an appointment. Hopefully 8 of those 11 appointments show up. 6 of those people will sign an agency agreement, and a couple of deals will pop out the other side, and hopefully you'll get a review at the end from at least 1 out of every 2 clients that you work with. That's the funnel from top to bottom. All right, lead conversion. Lead generation is the easy part. Filling the bucket's the easy part. You just got to spend money. Conversion is where the rubber meets the road. Conversion is what separates the Warren Buffetts from the poorest buckets. So let's talk about conversion. If you're gonna do leads at any level, you've gotta have a lead protocol, okay? This is how do we treat a lead when they come in. We've gotta stop thinking of thinking of them as leads, and we have to start thinking of them as human beings with needs, right? And so how would these people need to be served in that moment? Then it's a slight shift in your approach, this consultant's approach, we call it. So this is like the opposite of a salesperson. You know, when people call, I go, "Hi, it's AJ calling from Vantage West. How are you today?" That's how a salesman would call, right? Nobody likes that. That's got commission breath all over it. The consultant's approach is a shift in thinking. It's like a doctor with good bedside manner, right? I'm calling, you got a problem, I'm gonna help solve it. I'm not here to kiss your ass. I'm not asking you how your day is. We don't know each other that well yet, right? It's like, hey, you got any questions? How can I help? That's the kind of the approach, but it's a confidence that you bring to it, that you're the consultant, you have what they need, and you're gonna do this dance with them, but you're not there to sell them anything. It's a consultative approach. And then you need follow-up systems. The fortune is in the follow-up, guys. It is not about, one and done kind of stuff or just skimming the low-hanging fruit. To be in the lead generation game, to build a business around leads, you need follow-up systems that absolutely kick ass. So let's talk about lead protocol. First and foremost, speed to lead, okay? 5 minutes was the Harvard study that says you're 20 times more likely to connect with somebody if you call them within 5 minutes. It seems a little creepy when they come to the website. Like initially, that's our resistance to it. It's like, I'm gonna call this person while they're literally still on my website. Reframe it, call them up and say, "Hey, it's AJ calling from Vantage. How's that for fast service?" Service, right? It's a reframe. They like it. Most people don't answer the call they've never seen, or a number they've never seen before on the first go, right? It's a double call. 30% increase in connects right away if you call twice. Double tap will help in a big way. Now, some people just won't answer the phone. You gotta have a couple other mediums. Meet them where they are. Text and emails are good too, right? So,
double calls when you're calling system, you leave voicemails.
On the second go. Yep. Not on the first, but on the second, yep. But meet them where they are. Sometimes they won't respond to a call. Highest converting text you can send to somebody if you just want engagement is, "Hey, is this John?" Right? And then when you leave a text and you put your name, don't put AJ Hazzi or don't put Josh Jans, RLP. Don't do that. Just say Josh. That's it. People will respond to first names way more than they respond to your full name and brokerage on a text. It's like, ugh, I don't want that. But hey, is now a good time to talk? AJ. Right? Great engagement text. This is the one that nobody wants to hear, but all of the gold, and this is from other team leaders like myself that obsess over the metrics, it's all in the 10 plus attempts, right? You've got most people who start in the lead generation game, 1 attempt to 1.5 attempts per lead. That's usually where it goes. Looking for the low-hanging fruit. There's just an abundance of new leads coming in. Just next, next, next. You'll never get a real ROI on your ads because costs of ads are going up. The only way to really get a return on ad spend is to up the amount of attempts. I know team leaders that mandate that no lead can be dudded until it's been attempted 33 times. I just say 10 plus, right? Just if you can get from 2 to 10, you're already operating at such an elite level that you'll do huge volume.
Does it have to be 10 manual, or can it be like 8 automated, 2 manual?
Yeah, so I mean, the more manual that you do, the higher your conversion is going to be. But yeah, 10 attempts by way of calls, texts, emails can all. But yeah, and that's like, we call it 10 days of pain. Like that first 10 days, there should be 10 attempts in those first 10 days. Now, sadly, you cannot do this well without some script work, okay? You need to spend the time to actually get good at a script. It doesn't have to be any particular one. There's a million different ones where you ask a certain amount of questions to qualify, but you can't wing it. You can't just pick up the phone and not have a direction. You need a certain set of dialogues that you use to effectively book appointments. That is the whole purpose of the call, is to ascertain whether they have a need, and if they're qualified, make them a value proposition that they would be silly saying no to, and then anchor the appointment with that yes. That is what you need to do. So find a script that works. There's lots of them, from Tom Ferry to Brian Buffini, lots of different scripts you can use, but you should have a script that you're following when you're making these outbound calls. As I say, the fortune's in the follow-up. You need automated nurture campaigns that are value-based, right? Not BS ones, not recipes. Automated nurture campaigns that are based on value, like tips. You can repurpose your videos, your evergreen videos, the 3 things you need to know before you buy your home. Those should be going out. Hey, John, thought you might be interested in this video. Boom, that's it. Short emails, value-based, short. It doesn't need to be Shakespearean prose. It doesn't need to be 4 paragraphs long. Short, punchy emails. That's it. Automated saved searches. Whatever IDX website you're working with should have the ability to recognize if someone's been on the site, have looked at 15 or 20 homes, and the AI that's built into it should be able to create a saved search for them, right? If you don't have that tool, get it. That's the tool you need, because those automated saved searches will bubble up more opportunity. That's where a big part of the follow-up is that. And then this is just a commitment that you need to make. Who here has a CRM, by the way? Okay, damn, this is an elite group. Who here admittedly could spend a little more time in their CRM? Okay, so you guys are normal. It's like everyone. The difference between doing this at a really high level and just kind of farting along, making a few deals here and there, is the time you spend in the CRM. It's utilizing the tools, the tags, utilizing stages. It's spending time every day and making it a habit. It doesn't have to be a huge amount of time. I mean, for most people, you could spend 30 minutes in your CRM every day and make that the habit, and it's lights out from there. And just use the tools. Fortune's in the follow-up. At the end of the day, to do this at a high level, you're managing relationships. The only way to manage relationships at scale is through a CRM. So we use Follow Up Boss. It's been great to us. There's lots of good ones out there. Now, I'm showing you all these numbers. A lot of people are wondering, okay, you guys built your business on an ISA model. Is it time for an ISA? Do I want to integrate that? Do I want to leverage myself away from being the person that makes the calls and give somebody who's maybe better at it or naturally gifted in that area, give them the mic and let them run with it? So first of all, we live in British Columbia, so you can't make outbound calls on someone's behalf without a real estate license, okay? So this person would have to be licensed. That part, the US doesn't have that problem in many states. They're able to just hire, kids to come in and work the phones. We can't do that. They have to be a licensed person. It's a challenging animal to find, just so you're aware. This person, though, the advantage to what they get to work remotely, and they get to set their own hours. So that's the hook, right? You can work from home, and you can work whatever hours you want. You're KPI driven, so I don't care what hours you work. If you can book me 2 quality appointments a day, work 2 hours a day, I don't give a shit. That's the hook, right? And they should be able to make a lot of money. The challenge that you're gonna have is it takes at least a year, because the leads, most of them that come in are a long period of time, so it takes a long time for this person to start doing deals. So you have to pay them a fairly decent salary initially before the deals start to happen. You also have to be willing to invest in this long term. We lost money on our inside sales department for 2 years before we did it. The other challenge is at what scale are you gonna do it? A good ISA should only really, between salary and their comp on the deals, shouldn't exceed 10% cost of sale. But if they wanna make 100 grand, they have to be involved in $1 million worth of deals then, right? So you have to be doing it at a certain scale before it would make sense, or they won't make enough money to stay. These are licensed realtors who are picking up the phone and dialing for, having at least 3 hours of conversation a day on your behalf. They're not gonna do it unless they can make well over 100 grand, okay? So that's just to help you get an idea of the context around hiring an ISA. Let's dive into the consultant's approach a little bit more. So a consultant asks great questions. You should have a systemized set of questions that you ask before every single appointment, right? What's important to you when deciding to work with an agent? What changed in your life that has made you decide that you want to make a move? Why are you going through this painful process of moving? What's going on in your world, right? Good quality questions so that you can understand where people are coming from. Is there anybody else we need to be looping into this conversation now that's part of the decision-making process, right? You gotta have these good consultative questions that you ask at every single appointment. That's the consultant's approach. That establishes you as the lead. That establishes you as the authority in the room, and people will follow the lead if you ask great questions. Then you gotta have a 5-step consultative process. It doesn't need to be 5 steps, okay? Any amount of steps, but you have to have a process that might go from, we have this meeting, and then we do market education. And then from market education, we do showings, and then from showings, I'm gonna lead you safely through the offer process, and then I'm gonna bring you through my 5-star transaction management process on the other side, right? It's a series of steps that they can see themselves linearly going through that timeline. That's what de-stresses people, removes the anxiety when they see that you have a proven plan. You're not winging it. You know what, you've been here before. Here's the plan we're gonna follow. When you have a plan and you establish yourself as the consultant, you have a lot less people trying to take the lead from you. Who's had a client that thinks that they're in charge? Yeah. Most painful people to work with are the people who think they're leading the process. Well, the simple fact is they're leading the process because they're filling the leadership vacuum. It's not because they're a pain in the ass. It's because they are filling a vacuum. No one's, it's like dancing, right? If no one takes the lead, the woman will take the lead. She wants the man to take the lead, but she'll take it if you're not going to take it, right? It's the same thing with the client. We're not there to service how they think it should go. We're there to lead them safely through a proven process on how we know it should go. And then lastly, you got to make the shift to exclusive agency. Show of hands, who's using exclusive buyer's agency in their business right now? Okay, it is still the minority. I've been squawking about this for years. You are using it, Jamie? Nice. You make them sign the contract?
As much as we can.
Hoorah, I like it.
We've lost lots, so very good.
You have?
Some lost.
Yeah? Okay. Yeah, I'd be surprised if are you using a buyer's presentation?
No.
Yeah? And, okay. Well, maybe you'll catch something here that'll help shore that up. Every time, not when you can, with your best friends. How many people have a client that they're so close to that person, they don't go into exclusivity with them. They don't take the time to do a buyer's meeting with them to really establish expectations. They don't share any of the value. And then the friend just kind of thinks it's a loose arrangement. The friend goes and does something else. Maybe they buy a house at an open house. Maybe they have another friend who's a realtor or whatever. They didn't really get the program because you didn't lay it out. You just assumed. And now you got a weird tension with that friendship. It's no good. And they don't really know all the great stuff that you do, so they don't really know how to refer you, right? Like when you bring someone through a buyer's presentation, you explain all the amazing stuff that you do, they know what to lean into when they tell their friend why they should work with you. So definitely do it with your friends, right? I know we all like to work with our friends, but we usually give our friends the worst service, right? Friends and family for me it was that way anyway. So we're in an industry where we just need to accept it. You can't go to your accountant and get him to do 40 hours of work for you and then say, I was walking in the mall and I passed an H&R Block and I just got them to do my taxes. But hey, you know what? I super appreciate everything you did there. Catch you later. That's not happening. So why are we the industry that accepts that, right? Why don't we elevate what it means to be a realtor, to not just tripping and falling over some commissions, but actually value our time well enough that we expect and demand exclusivity with our clients, and we want to get paid for our work. Exclusive buyer's agency is the number one way to mitigate your unpaid time. Bottom line. The biggest time vampire in this business is working with buyers who are not committed to you. Bar none. That is full stop. That is the biggest time vampire. You eliminate that, you open up your bandwidth, and you liberate yourself to being able to work with better clients, give better service, and actually have a life at the end of the day because you're not spending 80% of your week just doing BS that's not going to result in a paycheck. In order to get someone to agree to a buyer's agency agreement, we need to have good, solid presentations. And it sounds to me like we need to take a break anyway, so I'm going to cut it here. Let's take a 10-minute bio break, 10-minute coffee break, grab a coffee, have a BS, and then we'll come back in 10 and we'll run through the second half. Sound good? All right. I know you guys want to be social. We don't get to do group gatherings anymore, so this is like a big thing. This is a nice treat, right? Getting together. We used to do this in the real estate business once in a while, get together as a group and, rub shoulders, have fun, talk shop. And you find out you have more things that you can say to each other than just how crazy the market is. There's other stuff that we can talk about. It's pretty fun. How's the content so far, guys? Everybody clicking? Liking it? Nice. That feels good. It's the first time I've ever delivered this stuff, so I had a backup plan in case my content was totally garbage. I have a whole bunch of leftover Ryan Serrant books you guys can have on the way out. No joke. We actually we had Serrant speak at one of our morning meetings, and he sent 100 books to the office, and so we were not 100 people, so I've got an extra 50 copies there. So everybody on the way out, grab a copy of Serrant's book. They're sitting in my credenza. It's not because I'm trying to endear myself to you, it's I'm trying to get them out of my credenza. They're a really good book, though. All right, so we're gonna get into some more actionable stuff. It's gonna be rapid fire here for the last bit of this. I know you guys are probably getting hangry. It's getting close to lunch. That's what the granola bar is for, okay? I didn't want to get you guys fist-sized shrimp because then you'd think I was really trying to recruit you, so I'm keeping it lean, but they're nice granola bars, okay? All right, let's get into it. We're gonna talk about presentation. So we left up the last bit on, I implore you to use buyer's agency, okay? If you're gonna use buyer's agency, then you need a good presentation in order to get them. We all have listing presentations. That's a no-brainer. That's been going on for 20 years. You need a buyer's presentation. So let's walk through it. The key to a successful buyer's presentation is threefold. Number one, you need proper framing in advance. So you want value-based reminders going out, et cetera. There's a whole bunch of things. We'll break that down a little bit further. The second thing is, obviously, you're going to need a really strong buyer's presentation and a really strong listing presentation. Sorry, the slide's out of order. Pre-framing. Best way to do this is BombBomb. You can record it once. It can just be like you in the car. Hey, I'm really looking forward to our meeting. I've got some great information prepared for it, and can't wait to connect and figure out what it is, understand your real estate related goals. Something like that, right? It doesn't say their name. It's generic. It's in the car, and it goes out, and it feels very personal to them, okay? Better than that would be to actually say their name and do them one for every client if you have the time to do it. But you can also just pre-record it and send it out via BombBomb. That happens. It can go automated when you even schedule the appointment. It can show up. It can go out 3 hours before the appointment. You can automate the whole thing. That's the pre-framing. When they see you in a video, the relationship starts to transfer. They start to see you as the authority, and they also start to develop somewhat of a relationship. It's way less likely they're going to no-show. Value-based reminders are really important, and yeah, like I said, use BombBomb if you can. Linking to your reviews in advance, just saying, hey, I don't know if you guys had a chance to check me out online yet, but here's what clients are saying about us, and shoot them a quick link to your reviews so that they get a chance. Not everybody will go through that process of reading reviews first and calling you. Some people will call you first and not read the reviews. You want to make sure they show up already knowing what everybody else thinks. This is the social proof of your business. And then share your video content with them. That's value-based stuff. So if it's a buyer lead, hey, I just wanted to send this in advance. These are the 3 things that you need to know before you buy a house in this market. Just an example, right? So value-based content going out. This is pre-framing. They show up sold on you. They feel like they already know you. They've been watching you on their little screen now for at least a handful of minutes. They feel like they know you. It's way less of a cold conversation when you meet. The actual presentation itself, before you launch into it, you don't show up and throw up. That's what they expect you to do. Before you launch into it, you have to take the time to ask great questions. Right? I did a little video. It's on our video Vantage Academy blog on the 7 questions to ask before every appointment. Watch that video. It's 5 minutes. It'll break it down for you. But you need really good questions in the beginning so that A, you demonstrate your competence and you demonstrate your character before you start talking about yourself. Because the meeting really is about them. After the power questions, your whole presentation needs to be all about differentiating yourself from your competitors, right? Or differentiating yourself from their perception of what it is that you do. After that, you want the presentation to advance the sales process, okay? So in gaining agreement, one of the tips that we use is book the next step in your 5-step consultative process before you've even asked for anybody's agreement. The way that works is one of the steps in our presentation says market education is a really valuable step. This is where we go out and we look at homes, not for the prospect of buying, but purely just so you can get your feet wet and get a baseline on where value is in your price range. We should do that now. Let's book it. Let's book that. Let's put it in our calendars right now. And now you've got a meeting on the books. You haven't asked them for anything, but this is starting to shift their perception of they're seeing you as their agent. Now you have a meeting on the books. So it's going to make that yes at the end that much easier. And then the thing that'll really help is a risk removal. Recognizing that you are asking these folks they've only met you once, now you're asking for marriage, right? Sign on the line, we're contractually bound to one another. Let them know that your intention is not to hold them to anything they don't want to be held to, but that you just want to know that while you're working with them, they're working with you exclusively. You can get out of this contract anytime. Remove the risk. I think you should do it for your listings too. Personally, we do that on all of our contracts. It makes saying yes that much easier, and anybody in marketing recognizes that a risk removal will increase your conversion, I don't know what percentage, but a massive percentage. So a risk removal. Those are the 4 elements to a successful buyer's presentation. The whole point of the presentation is to overwhelm with value. So 5 key points. Explain agency, that's our job. That's really the thing that, if John from the board would come out and talk to you about what we were supposed to do, it's all about explaining agency. So make sure you do that. Make sure they understand fiduciary duty and all of the things. But you can do it in a way where they feel protected, right? That's the whole point. They should feel like, wow, this person is protecting me and my family through this process. Then you want to talk about negotiating. Again, you should be able to quantify your negotiating average against the industry average. This is something that's really important. It's a very referable skill. So you want to get good at that and then talk about your negotiating. If you don't have a quantifiable difference, then just talk about how you go old school and negotiate offers in person and all the different things that you do that is different from everybody else who's just texting, hey, I sent the offer, can you confirm receipt? That's a huge one that makes people say yes. Then talk about access. People have a fear that they're only going to see the tip of the iceberg, or they're only going to see what you show them. So you want to alleviate that fear by saying you're going to get access to everything, not just the stuff that is offering a full fee, not just the stuff that my company has, but literally everything, including stuff that's off market, including stuff that's offering zero commission, anything. We're going to show you absolutely everything. You're going to get total access. That's what they want to know. This is the thing why they don't want to commit to you, is because they think you have different listings than Jeff, right? And that's not the case. We all have access to the same stuff. You need to alleviate that fear. They're going to see everything. Okay? And then you got to talk about your proven system for providing a 5-star experience, right? And case studies are really impressive, where if you have a 5-star review and then you can talk about that experience, tell a story, stories sell. So if you can weave a few stories into your presentation, hugely influential. But those are the pieces to overwhelm people with value. These need to be in your buyer's presentation if you're going to use it. Listing presentations, similarly, same thing. Start with power questions, differentiate, overwhelm with value, use a risk removal, same as the buyer's presentation. These are key elements. I think offering staging and a moving concierge are a really nice touch. We do that in our listing presentation, so we spend some time talking about that, how it's sort of a white glove service. And then using case studies. Case studies sell, so you talk about how you engineered a specific outcome for a seller, right? They think houses sell themselves. We need to help them understand that there's a difference between selling a home and engineering the ideal outcome, right? And so if you can walk someone through a case study where you say, we put this home on the market, prior to doing so, we brought our stager in, the stager gave them some advice, they followed the advice, good for them. Then we spent 2 weeks doing a coming soon campaign to generate some pent up demand. Then we called through all of the realtors, we launched the listing on a Thursday, we held off offers till Monday, and we communicated, tell the story, right? About how you engineered the outcome. That's what they want to hear. They want to feel like they're going to get more from you. Otherwise, why don't they just put the home on Property Guides, right? And then similarly, your communication guarantee. The biggest fear of sellers is that you're going to take the listing and go dark. So make them a communication guarantee and then walk them through what your communication strategy looks like. And I have a slide in here that is the exact slide from our listing presentation that shows that our communication system. That's what they want to see, that you're going to be in touch and you're going to make sure that they're always connected to what's going on. All right. So we're through the presentations. Now let's talk about servicing the client and doing so at scale, right? It's easy to give good service when you have one deal a month happening, right? It's easy. You just pour yourself into that one client, you give them great service, and they're happy. You get 3 deals a month going, starts to get a little more challenging, but like a good waiter can handle a 5-6 table section, a good agent should be able to give great service to 3 people a month. 4 and 5, it's starting to get a little dicey. Some of the squeaky wheels are going to get the grease. Some people are going to get left out. It gets challenging, right? And so when you get to this sort of success stage of your business where you're doing 4 or 5 deals a month consistently, offering that consistent 5-star service becomes the biggest challenge in your business. The business is there. How do we create a repeatable process where we can make these people raving fans of what we do? You need systems in order to do that. So we're going to dive into that. So a sales system that scales. That's what we're all about here. So what the heck is a system? Well, simply put, a system is an organized collection of parts or subsystems that are highly integrated to accomplish a goal. The goal being a 5-star review and a person who is a walking, talking billboard of your business. That is the goal, okay? So you need a system to achieve that goal. A system is really just a collection of processes. So you've got all these different things. You've got your lead conversion process, your onboarding process, you've got your transaction management process, your closing process, right? So you have to figure out, you have to break these things down into the minutia and have a process for each of these items. Once you have a process, how do you create a process? Let's start there. It's pretty easy, actually. It sounds daunting, but it's not that. Do the task yourself, novel idea. Then write down what you did, leave no details out. Okay? Take those details, make a checklist. There you have a system. You have a process, right? So this is one of our slides from our listing presentation where we explain our system around getting homes on the market and how much there is to do to make sure that we get it right. Okay, so 5-star client service comes down to 3 things. You've got your documented process so that you have these checklists to make sure that everybody is going to go through the same set of steps, right? Everybody's getting the exact same service. From there, you've got a communication plan so that you never leave anybody in the dark, because it doesn't matter how good your service is. If you leave people in the dark, and I was the worst for this. I'm a results guy. Like, give me the rock, I got it. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna dunk it. That's kind of my mentality. I would leave clients in the dark all the time. And I would get calls from people and they'd be like, what's going on with my deal? And I'd be like, don't worry about it, I got it. But they weren't having a great experience, right? These people were stressing at night, wondering what the hell is going on. I am not stressing because I got it under control, but I'm not telling them what's going on. Huge mistake. Don't make that mistake in your business. Keep people, play offense with your phone. So a communication plan, you should have it documented so whether it's you or anybody on your team that's doing this, they understand this is the cadence and the frequency of communication that is required to keep them on that 5-star path. And then lastly, this is sort of the icing on the cake, and that's moments of magic, okay? And moments of magic is a phrase we borrowed from the book Cult of the Customer. It's a good book if you want to read it, and it just explains how you can weave in these moments of magic in a systematic way so that the client feels very special, but again, it's systematic. Every client's going to get the exact same experience. So the communication plan is kind of a 3-pronged thing. Match them at their ideal cadence. So not everybody's going to want the exact same thing, but you can lead them towards the average. So what we do is when we talk to a client, we'll say, I want to make sure that I communicate with you the way you want to be communicated with. And so I've got certain clients that want to hear from me every day. And I have certain clients that don't want to hear from me unless the house is on fire or something, or there's an offer that needs to be attended to. And I have some clients that are really happy with just like a weekly check-in call, right? So I'm leading the witness towards the middle to what my system is. I want to do a weekly check-in call. And I want them to select that option. So I have crazy client over here, crazy client over here. The normal people want this. What would you guys like? I want the normal option most times, right? And if they are the person that wants to talk to you every day, they'll tell you, and at least now you know, right? Because if you don't ask the question, you never know. And there are people like that. So you got to meet them at their cadence. The next thing is you got to ask them what their ideal medium of communication is. Some people do not like getting text messages. You know, there's certain demographics that are like, I don't want all the communication to be text. Certain things get lost in text messages. I can't tell you how many times I've thought a client was mad at me because I'm insisting that all the communication is via text. They don't like texting, so their texts are 3 words long, so I think they're mad. That's not the case, they just hate texting. How's their experience? Not 5-star. I'm not meeting them on the medium of their choice. So ask them. I say, I have certain clients that don't really love the phone. I'm happy to pick up the phone and call you every week and we can have a voice-to-voice conversation. If that's not your style, you want an email download of what's going on, I'll happily meet you there. If you'd rather me shoot you a text just as things come up ad hoc, I can do that as well. What would be your preferred means of communication, right? Have that conversation with them so they know. Now you're customizing the service, right? And then just a principle, and I learned this from the Brian Buffini course, which is it takes 15 minutes to receive a call from a client that's like, what have you done for me lately? What's even going on? Like they're initiating the contact. Now you're singing for your supper, you're river dancing, you're trying to make sure that they know all the whiz-bang stuff you're doing for them. Versus if you play offense with the phone and you make that call, you say, hey John, AJ calling, I just wanted to give you a quick weekly update. We had 2 showings, Here's the ads I got running. I think everything's good for now in my personal opinion, or I think we should be having a pricing conversation next week after this next set of showings, whatever. That whole download takes 60 seconds. They say, wow, thanks, appreciate it. Great, I'll give you a call in a week unless something comes up before that. Boom, I played offense. I controlled the situation. It takes me a minute versus 20, right? And their experience is much better. So play offense with your phone on the communication side. Huge, huge piece of the puzzle. This is that slide that goes on our listing presentation. So it's a little stretched for this monitor because our presentation isn't widescreen. But so we talk about useful, actionable feedback that comes in a timely fashion. We talk about the weekly check-in call. We talk about market updates, and then we do a marketing report every 3 weeks for them, which is where we do a full market plan review, where we show them all the different mediums that their home's on, and we quantify all the different eyeballs we put on the property. So that's our Vantage communication plan. But excuse me, you should have a plan like this, and you should be able to communicate it, articulate it in the presentation. This is what buyers and sellers want to hear. They want to hear you've got a plan. Now let's talk moments of magic. So this is a moments of magic list for sellers. You can steal as much of this as you like. Personal notes, I highly recommend you use your own handwriting and write people personal notes. That puts the personal in the note. But if you're a lazy shit like me, you could go to handwritten.com and they actually take a pen and they write. and it's $3, and they will write in real pen into a card and send it to the address that you asked them to. So you can do that. Welcome letters to sellers are great. I've seen some really good ones in this marketplace right now. People sending like welcome packages to people's houses, really strong. Is anybody in the room doing a welcome package for their listings? Yeah? What's in it? Do you mind me asking?
Yeah, basically with the new listing, like we like to have a package where they get flowers into their house.
Nice.
And get whatever decided.
Yep.
So we try to find something that's a little bit suited to them on an individual level. So if you told me that there's something that you liked, something that's small that just shows that I paid attention to conversation with that company, so it's individualized.
Smart. I like it. That's very cool. Yeah, we're toying with all kinds of stuff, trying to improve that side of it. I think that's maybe a hole in our bucket. It's not an overwhelmingly powerful welcome package. I'd like to have like a Vantage West scent that they get, so all of our listings smell the same. Like kind of everybody gets an orchid. Right? I think that'd be cool. Anyway, the welcome letter is what they get right now, which is just a nice letter from me. And then there's a nosy neighbor setup. So we kind of it's a cute email that goes out that says, hey, we've set you up on this, so you can kind of keep an eye on what's going on with your neighbors. Right? It's just another touch. Staging consultant goes out. That's a really nice touch. They love that. That's my mom, or Nick and I's mom, doing that. She loves it. She's really good at it. And then we do a handyman service. So I've got my contractor that works for me on salary, and we can send him to take care of certain things that come up in the staging consult if need be. Then a stress reliever. So this is something that I haven't done yet, but we're going to start implementing, which is a little stress reliever kit that goes out when they get an accepted offer, but they're still subjects. Stressful time. It's just a silly thing that shows that you care. It's like, here's a little stress relief. It's like a ice thing for the eyes. There's a company called Client Giant, which I'll talk about in a sec, that has a really nice stress relief kit that goes out. It's a nice touch, moment of magic, right? That's what we're talking about here. And then champagne to celebrate, or if they're not drinkers, some sort of a treat at subject removal. It's a celebratory time. It's really good to take advantage of that moment when they're super happy when the deal goes firm, because sometimes there's a delay of 2 months before it closes. You want to, again, we're trying to systemize getting a 5-star review and making them super happy. This is a great time to do it. And then we don't do this. We have done in the past, but a commemorative book using the professional photos that you shot for the house that they are selling is a nice touch. People have very, they have a lot of affection towards the house. Do you guys do it?
No, I just said unless it's a divorce.
Yeah, you gotta know your audience. You do too. You just got to take all the furniture out of the photos so that they don't, what's that couch that you got? All right, on the buy side, there's some moments of magic you guys can implement into your service as well. Personal noted acceptance, so again, you can see there's a similarity to it. Small gift when the deal firms. When people are buying a home, they tend to be talking to everybody about the process. So if you know where they work, which you do because of FinTrack, if you send them a bouquet of flowers or something they can share with their workplace is even better, like those fruit arrangements or chocolates. Right? If you've got a client that works at a bank, and then all of a sudden all the other tellers are like, what do you got there? Oh, that's my realtor. She sent me some chocolates. Right? Huge piece of the puzzle. They feel great, and all of a sudden now you've got a bit of an audience there that's seeing what a great agent that you are. Personalized gift at closing, as best you can personalize it. I mean, we're doing this at such a scale, sometimes we can't do it, but a really nice gift on the closing day. A great key handoff is a really important piece of the puzzle, so make sure you don't miss that opportunity. You gotta have a personalized gift at closing. And then this is really the most important piece of the whole deal, because everything you do up until the point when you cash a check, they think you're doing because you wanna cash the check or because there's something in it for you. Once the check's cashed, it's what you do for the next however long that separates you from their perception of what an agent is all about, which is it's all about the commission. So the 1-7-30 is a systematic follow-up where you follow up on day one. How's your first day in the house? Any problems come up? Anything I can take care of? And you're actually looking for something that's cheap that you can do. Like, oh, the place is a pigsty. Great, let me send my cleaner. Or the stove doesn't light. Let me send my appliance guy. Whatever, you're looking for a small problem that you can fix, right? You've already cashed the check, now you're showing up and you're fixing problems. Same thing on day 7. You've been in your house for a week, surely something's come up by now. Is there anything I can take care of for you? Has anything popped up? How's the house, right? You show up on day 7, same thing. Day 30, First month in the house, worked the bugs out yet? How you guys feeling? You guys settled in? Yeah, right on, cool. Hey, I just want to let you guys know I'm going to be sending something to you guys here shortly. Just now that you're settled into the house, I want to send you guys, it's nothing big. It's just a little movie night, just so you and the family can kind of settle into your new space. And you send them like it's a $35 deal. It's a $10 Amazon Prime Video gift card with some Twizzlers and some popcorn and whatever else, right? But you just send them a little curated movie night. You've already given them the big gift. They've already celebrated. Now you're still showing up 30, 45 days later with a little, hey, now you're in your new house, enjoy it, right? Nice touch, little moment of magic, you've cashed the check. That particular gift is 5 times more impactful than the one that you showed up with on closing date. All right, transaction management, the sexy stuff. So who the heck is your transaction management team? Well, we're all coming at this from a different place. Some people have teams, some people are the lone wolf. At some point though, I would recommend you get some leverage in the transaction management arena. Good thing I didn't rip my pants in front of all you guys doing that. Imagine. You would have something to talk about when you left. Okay, so transaction management, it's a big piece of the puzzle because, if a deal's gonna go off the rails, it'll often come off the rails during this phase. It's a very sensitive phase. People are very stressed during transaction management. Up until the point when the whole deal is closed, tensions are high. So you gotta have a really good system around managing the transaction. So first step is who does it? If you're a lone wolf, you do it, okay? At some point though, you're gonna have a super admin, right? You're gonna hire an admin, and I suggest you try to find somebody that is like integral to the organization, someone that you could call an operations coordinator, right? This is a person who will understand the whole business. That's kind of the first hire. Then, as you ascend and as your business grows, you might actually just have a person who is a transaction manager on the team. That's a person that's a salaried person on the team. They do transaction management. Maybe they get a bonus per deal, okay? Another way to do it, which a lot of people are doing, is they're hiring a company called My Outdesk, and they're using a virtual assistant to manage it. You're putting your checklists, you're giving the checklist to the VA, and they're managing the process. You can use My Outdesk to do this, but bringing a transaction manager into it as an agent, when you say, you know what, I'm here, still very connected, but I'm also bringing in my transaction manager now to make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and make sure that this timeline is managed. So I don't know if you guys are like me, but I'm not a great detail person. I think the people who are great at sales or who are promoter type mentalities tend to be a little weak on the details, right? So for me, this was born out of necessity. A lot of you guys probably are the complete package where you can do this job really well. You can manage the details and be a great salesperson. I didn't have that. So I had to hire somebody quickly. I had an assistant when I was 21 and doing 20 deals because I needed it, or it was like 2 choices, get an assistant or get the hell out of the business. That was really the bottom line. So transaction management came as a no-brainer to me because I didn't like that portion of the business. I didn't like managing the subject removals and all those things. I wanted to get out and do the next deal. But it's a hard thing to let go of, but it's a really important piece of the puzzle. So what do? They manage your file checklist. Again, you got a checklist for it. So the perfect client experience after the home comes under contract, boom, it's documented as a checklist. From there, they manage the condition removal timelines. I'm throwing myself under the bus a lot here, but I used to be the guy that would like pop out of bed at 11 o'clock at night on subject removal and be like, oh my God, today's subject removal. It is the most stressful thing when you realize you might have just blown a deal for somebody, and now you're like begging and hoping the other realtor's awake, and you're begging for an extension just to not look like a donkey. So this was a huge thing for me to offload the condition removal timeline. The next piece is coordinating inspections, appraisals, coordinating with the mortgage broker, managing all these other players. There's multiple people involved in this due diligence process, and managing those people and managing their timeline is super important. Then you wrap it in a nice bow by they become the person who communicates it to the client, okay? Daily or every other day as things are happening, they're communicating with the client. You're out there selling more houses. This person's cleaning up after you. They're the one that's gonna make sure that the client's still having a kick-ass experience and that client is still in the know. Because I was the guy that was on to the next, and I was like, this will be fine, this will work out. The inspection's gonna work out, and I'm just carrying on, right? So you need the transaction management side at scale. Then you got moving management. So this is a concierge piece that we offer all of our clients, which is, hey, we can step in at this point. They introduce themselves as, I'm the transaction manager, but I'm also kind of like your moving concierge. So if you need me to arrange cleaners, or if you need me to send boxes to the house, and then we send them a nice little document that has links to changing their changing their address with the postal service, changing their utilities, et cetera. So you become kind of a move management concierge, right? You offer that at that point. It really elevates your service and makes you look like an organization. And then the most important for managing brokers is that this person will actually audit the file and submit a perfect file to the brokerage every time and on time. Huge piece of the puzzle, right? Deals getting kicked back to you because of incomplete paperwork. Huge pain in the ass, takes you out of your flow when you're out there trying to sell houses. You want somebody managing the checklist, making sure all the documents are there, chasing down anything that's missing. Okay, lifetime customer value. This breaks down into 4 sections. Reviews, it all starts with a review. So lifetime customer value is a term that we borrow from the internet marketing realm, right? People that sell courseware or whatever, they're trying to increase the amount that they can transact per client, okay? Sounds kind of hokey, it doesn't sound like what we do, but the reality of it is our business is the same, okay? Our goal is to try to increase the lifetime value of every client we work with, and it's a mutually beneficial thing. If we do a great job for them and we stay in touch and continue to provide value, then naturally we get to reap on the other side. So the ways to do this are having a system in place to get reviews. That's them communicating to the marketplace that you are worthy, and that will attract business. So just in that process of them doing a review, they raise their lifetime customer value because they've added value to your business, right? You might get an extra deal a year from the review that they wrote, okay? Then there's cultivating referrals. So actually taking the time to explain to them in advance that you work by referral, that your expectation is if you do a great job for them that they're gonna tell the world. And then repeat business. You stay in front of them, you build a fence around them, you use that 1 kilometer radius search, you send them market updates, you call them every year and ask them what their real estate related goals are, right? You stay in front of them so that you get that repeat client, right? So everybody's ascending. And then the last piece of the puzzle is to be premium. This is a big one, very near and dear to my heart, because there's no strategic benefit to being the second cheapest in the marketplace, but there is absolutely a strategic benefit to being the most expensive. I've tried to position Vantage as the most expensive option. We never compete on price, ever. We go into listing presentations and we're consistently a half point, often a point and a half more than what anybody else is charging. We don't compete on that. But that actually, when communicated properly, is a show of strength, is a show of confidence in what you do, and you say, my customer is a value customer and they see the value in what we do, okay? Value versus price is something you gotta get your head around. Commoditizing is what all of the prop tech companies, Redfin, everybody is trying to do to our industry, okay? They're trying to commoditize us. They're suggesting to the marketplace that any realtor is interchangeable, and that really the function that we perform is really just to get contracts written or open doors, and that's essentially it. That's the commoditized version. And if that's the case, if we are a commodity, then that drives the price downward, right? Because that's all commodities go to zero at some point. The opposite of that is differentiating, okay? Our whole strategy has always been about differentiating ourselves, because once you differentiate, then it's a value-based conversation. It's no longer about price. You're not comparable anymore because you're different. Commoditized people, they all have to compete with each other. The only way they can do that was price. Once you're different, then that becomes of no consequence to you. Now it's all about what is the value exchange and can you see the value in what we do? So when you compete on price, it's really a race to the bottom, okay? When you position yourself as when you compete on value and position yourself as a premium service, there is no ceiling to what you can charge. So for a fun little exercise with everybody, because I want some engagement here, let's have a thought exercise. Forget 5%. Let's say, what would we have to do, just for fun, to be able to charge 10% at a listing presentation?
Get the client 10% more money overall.
So be able to quantify that you do. Yeah, that's good. What else? What else could you offer? Go crazy. You could fly somebody in on a private jet if you're charging 10%. I fly in high net worth people. Does anybody remember a guy by the name of Rob Zoost?
Yeah.
Okay, so Rob used to run this story. He would tell sellers that he had high net worth people that he brought in by jet. He charged 10%.
Didn't he put leather recliners on their porch or something too?
Rob was one of the most brilliant marketers I ever met. It was unfortunate that he didn't have, the rubber didn't meet the road, it was kind of more of a veneer than a reality. But he got so much market share so quick and he came in with 10%. He went to all the high-end people and said, I charge 10%. Guess what? I'm worth it. And he showed them and articulated that it could be done. And he proved that it could be done. He was an interesting cat.
I had a good one too. So you can be at a hotel or maybe at the ski resort
Mhm.
this weekend.
Sure.
You're listening and they're gone. No stress about that.
Boom. So you're curating a stress-free experience for them, right?
That's 500-600 people.
Yeah, totally.
Similar to what the other gentleman said, my father owns a tour company. He's talked about the realtor, instead of a bottle of wine or a basket at the end, send him on a private tour for 2.
Yeah, killer. That's great. You had something you wanted to share? No unique insights? All right. Any other ideas? How do we charge a premium? What would we have to offer a seller for them to say yes, please, to a 10% listing?
Guarantee. Look forward to it.
A guarantee? Guaranteed outcome? I like that. Okay. Anything else?
It could be as simple as them knowing they're going to get what they want. So premium service doesn't always mean the fanciest. It means what they specifically desire.
Yeah, so custom, totally customized service to them. What else could you claim that you would do for every buyer that showed up to their house? Or what, you could say you'll be at every listing, every showing, right? You could offer to do a $10,000 high production value video for every listing that you took.
One realtor had these comfortable flip flops as much your listing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Totally, I love it. The point is, guys, there's no limit to the stuff that you can offer, and there's no limit to the amount that we can charge. We're in a beautiful business where we can charge whatever we want. So let's all put our value hat on. Instead of competing with one another on price and driving this thing to the bottom, let's compete on value. Let's see who can be the most creative and offer the most stuff. And let's all, I will guarantee you within the next 12 months, you will see us have a 5% listing. I'm going up with our pricing, not down. And it's just about what more can we offer our clients to make it a no-brainer for them. And at some point, it might be a 10% listing. That's the goal. I know that there are people that I network with that have a 10% option. And it comes with the guarantees and it comes with a number of things. Works better in a lower priced environment where 10% of 200 grand is only 20K. That works a little easier than when 10% of $1 million house is 100 grand. But again, it's just to open your mind that it really truly is a value conversation. We are not a commodity. Okay. Past client, cultivating repeat and referral business. Let's do it. So the reason why you want reviews is because a lot of people start their search this way. Not buyers particularly, but sellers do. Anybody that's looking to sell a property and doesn't have a realtor will usually Google best agent or top agent or realtors in area, right? So those are the long tail search terms. And then if those terms are in your Google My Business account and you have enough reviews, Google will reward you by placing you at the top and verifying you and putting you on the map. And then people will click through to your website. Sellers do that. Buyers don't do that. Buyers start online by saying townhomes in Glenmore. Right? They don't look for realtors. They look for property, and then those properties are attached to realtors, and whichever realtor is fastest to respond and has the lead conversion stuff we talked about before is going to win that business. But sellers start this way, and I think we can all agree that sellers are the premium client right now, right? We want sellers. Buyers are a dime a dozen in this market. Sellers are the premium. So this is a huge reason. Reviews will get you listings, bottom line. So how do we get reviews? Ask at the right time. There's always like a crucible moment in every transaction where they're super thankful, right? The appreciation is maxed out. Maybe you just negotiated the deal. Maybe you solved the problem with the other agent and got the subjects removed. There's gonna be a point in time where they look at you and go, thank you, right? At that point you say, you know what? It's my pleasure. By the way, nothing would be more important to my business than a quick review so you can tell the world the experience you had. I'm gonna send you a really quick link via text that you can click right through. It auto-populates the 5-star review and just tell your story. I would love it to be as authentic as possible. Just tell your story. You're getting them at the right time and then you're making it easy for them, right? You should have that link to your Google My Business account in your notepad on your phone. And you send it out right in that moment. Copy paste into the text, done. Or you have a phone conversation. They thank you in person on the phone. You have the conversation, my pleasure. I'm gonna text you a link and then you text the link. And then the thing that most people miss is you gotta circle back and ask again. The reality of it is people are busy, they have good intentions, they wanna tell the world You just have to ask a second time. We feel weird asking a second time, like, oh my God, am I being kind of like needy asking for this review? Just ask a second time, a week later or whatever. Say, hey, I know you mentioned you wanted to throw me a review. I just wanted to, pester you one more time to do that. Is that cool? I'll send you the link again. And then they go, oh yeah, I totally meant to do that. Oh my God, I'll do it right now. That's what they always say. Then you get it. And then the last little nuance to it. So we've got almost 700 reviews online, so that alone is impressive. But what you have to look at now is, what are people looking at when they read your reviews? Okay, there's an intentionality about the replies that you can implement. First of all, you have to reply. Okay, some people are looking to see if the business is on the ball enough to even reply. If you don't reply, your reviews are doing you a massive disservice because it actually shows you're disconnected from it. So once we've satisfied that you are replying to all of your reviews, then the next piece is understanding that each customer is looking for one of two things. Some customers are looking for agents that are highly competent. They're looking for that gun negotiator. They're looking for somebody with a lot of market knowledge, that kind of thing. That's competency. And some people are looking for somebody that clearly has empathy. They're looking for character. They're looking for someone that is clearly trustworthy, clearly has empathy, clearly is going to give me the service that I need and want and feel I deserve. Two different kinds of clients. Now, every review and reply affords you the opportunity to hit both of those people. Some people are scanning reviews to see, is this person competent? And some people are scanning reviews to see, is this person of high character? Someone that I would want to work with. So every review reply, because most people will only read 2 or 3 to get a sense of who you are, should cover both bases. So if somebody reviews you and says, Paul's a kick-ass negotiator, he got me my dream house $5,000 under list. Okay, killer review. People are gonna love that, particularly one side of the camp. What's that? That's all you could do. You were up against Nick, so. The reply to that review might be something that demonstrated your character. Something like, it was my absolute pleasure working with you and Sandra. I hope you and the kids are happy in this house for years to come, right? It shows you're a human being. You've got empathy, you're of high character, right? The 1-2 punch on your reviews, that's what makes people pick up the phone and go, that's the person I want to work with. That's the agency I want to work with, right? All right, referrals. You got to perfect the ask, right? So everybody hates asking for referrals, but you should do it. And if you're going to do it, there's a good way to do it, a better way to do it, and there's a best way to do it. So a good way to do it, but just kind of like half-assing it would be, don't keep me a secret, or make sure you're mentioning my name. And they go, oh yeah, no, I do. That's good. Okay, that's good. It's better than nothing, right? You're kind of getting people at least thinking about it. A better way to do it might be to ask somebody, hey, do you know anybody that's thinking about buying or selling? Right? It's better. At least it forces them to think, but they can answer. It's a binary question. They can answer with a yes or a no. Most people are busy. They don't really want to answer. They say, no, not right now. Okay, cool. And you usually get off the phone because you asked in a wimpy way. You're not going to follow up with the best way to ask for a referral, which is, of all the people that you know, friends, family members, coworkers, who do you think is the most likely person to move in the next 90 days? And they actually have to think, because there is no that gets them out of that. Now they can say, you know what? Nobody comes to mind right now. You can say, no problem. Here's the thing. Now that we've talked, it's very likely that in the next 3 weeks, you're going to come into contact with somebody that could use my service. So all that I ask is that when you do, you pull out your phone, you shoot me a quick text with their name and number, and that way I have a 100% chance of getting in touch. Does that sound fair? Yeah, that sounds fair. Great. I appreciate that. Look forward to that introduction. Right? So now you're actually training them, you're asking in a way that forces them to think, and then you're telling them that you're implanting this idea that over the next 3 weeks, they're gonna come across somebody that could use your service. It happens so often. I learned that one from Brian Buffini. That is the best way to ask for a referral. Implement that into your business. You'll duplicate every client. This is a big one. Lead by example. So I talked about being that connector, right? How you stay relevant is being that person that sends out a lot of referrals. Lead by example in this. Now, a cool little hack, if you want to figure out the people in your database that are the most likely to refer you, send out an email, or better, a bomb to them that says, hey, I'm putting together a referral directory of all the best businesses in Kelowna, and I wanted to ask you, do you think there's anybody I should put on it? Do you have any businesses that you think belong on this referral directory? It'll do 2 things. Number 1, it'll smoke out who the people who are willing to take the time to be that sort of megaphone to the marketplace. those people, you want to make them A+ people on your client appreciation program, because they're going to be the ones that are those connector types. That's 10% of the population. The other thing that it does is it allows you to flesh out your referral directory, because you probably don't have somebody in every line item. So we have a spot in our meeting every week where we go, who can we add to the referral directory? We're building this massive thing, and we rate people. If they shit the bed, we take them off. We need a new person, but we're constantly asking our clients, who should we be adding? And we're asking each other, who should we be adding, so that we can constantly be that connector person that's giving great referrals out into the marketplace, so that then afterwards, once we've given, we can expect to receive. And then Client Giant, they're a US-based company. We're trying to figure out a way to get the price down, because when you pay in US, it gets pretty expensive. But it's pretty cool. If you go on their website, check out how they do their client retention gifts. It's like the Brian Buffini Popeye gifts, but like on steroids, right? These guys are sending out a curated, kind of best-in-class style gift, whether it's like air freshening system or a basil growing kit or whatever. It's something that, like, it's unisex, men or women will like it. They're really nice little curated gifts that cost about $25, okay? So my thinking around this is a $40 gift, and 4 times a year it goes out. It's $160. There. $160 a year invested into each client after the closing, okay? It goes out into these closing gifts. It's automated. You send a list to the company like Client Giant. They send it out, and at the end of the year, you calculate, did this person send me a piece of business or not? And if they did not, then they fall off the list. And if they did, they stay on it. And you continually have these people, and that becomes a system in and of itself, where you're sending these really thoughtful gifts on a quarterly basis with a handwritten note, and that referral system itself will generate a ton of business. For that extra $140, maybe 1 in 10 do some business or send a referral. Your client acquisition cost is right around $1,000, which is exactly the same as on the lead generation side as well. It's a cool little hack. Client Giant's a company that will do it for you. Those retention gifts, we're trying to kind of do it in-house ourselves, but it's a really good one. And I have clients that I coach in the US that are using them, and they get a huge ROI on that. Client appreciation program. Birthdays, holidays, their homeversary from when they bought, all stuff that you can have acknowledged via handwritten.com. An annual client party. Spend the money once a year, have everybody together, let them see all the clients that you have everybody rubbing shoulders, endear them. Referrals always flow from these parties. And then I talked about the Client Giant retention gifts. Okay, lots of stuff to do here, okay? You guys have been writing, I can see Fast and Furious. It could be a little overwhelming, right? It's like, how am I gonna implement all this stuff? Well, step one, Rome's not built in a day. You don't have to implement all this stuff in the first quarter, okay? So don't get overwhelmed. It took us 10 years to build this system. But what I wanna share with you is the real secret to this is not trying to do it all yourself, okay? So we all said we wanted more time. We all recognize that the real currency of wealth is time. You can sell 80 homes a year, you can sell 100 homes a year on your own with a shared assistant. I know people that do it. These are people who are, very hands-on, they need to do everything. And they can net a high amount of that, but they are going to be a hamster on a wheel. Implementing this extra stuff, there's no time to do it. It's just 100 miles an hour, just gotta keep grinding, right? That will never get you to the promised land of having the ultimate freedom of being where you wanna be, when you wanna be, right? And so, again, because I'm lazy, I figured out leverage, and I figured it out early on, and this is what created the bandwidth to implement the systems, and this is what now gives me the freedom to, like, November 1, I'm going to Cabo, we're gonna be gone for the month. Last year, we were gone for 4 months a year. Do not say that to be impressive. I'm sure it makes me look like a dick. But why I'm explaining it is I have time freedom now because I've created leverage. And you don't need to own a brokerage to do it, okay? Every agent can create a team around them, and live a leveraged existence. The brokerage itself has zero to do with what I've been able to do here. It's a funny business, right? We will work 80 hours a week for ourselves to avoid working 40 hours a week for somebody else, right? It's a fact. And you never really get off the hamster wheel up until the point when you understand that you have to invest back into your business, in people. But there's a few different things that you can leverage, okay? So when you realize, first of all, that you don't have to make the choice between giving clients a great personalized experience and doing a lot of business. You can do both. You just don't have to be all things to all people. People don't need your presence, they need your standard. Say that again. People do not require your presence, they require your standard. So we can leverage three things. You can leverage capital, which we all understand that because we live in a leveraged capital world where we put money into a piece of real estate and leverage it. We understand that. You can leverage capital in business as well. So we're going to talk about that. Certainly you can leverage technology. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And then talent, which I will tell you is the number one thing that you want to consider doing in your business, is finding great people who are more talented than you in certain areas to take that ball and run with it. Capital. Some examples, you take 50% of the gross commission income that you make and you reinvest it back into creating yourself that time freedom. You reinvest it back into something that is scalable. You build the business with that investment. That is highly leveraged thinking. You could take $5,000 a month of your profits or of your commissions, and you could reinvest it into a lead generation system that you're going to dedicate yourself to becoming great at conversion, and you're going to get a 10-to-1 return on ad spend, and you're going to make $50,000 a month. You're leveraging $5,000 a month to make $50,000 a month. It is doable. I've done it. That is a highly leveraged thing to do, but you have to be willing to spend the money, and you have to be willing to take the action. And then lastly, you could take $100,000, you could invest it into a $500,000 asset. And I really, really hope that all of you guys are doing that, becoming your own best customers, because myself and lots of people on our team sleep very well at night knowing we don't actually have to sell any houses if we don't want to, because we've been our own best customer for the last 10 years. And we have a rental portfolio that takes care of us whether we sell a house or not. That's a nice place to be coming from. You play like the money's in your pocket. You never have commission breath when you're talking to clients because you've got the personal nut covered by the $10,000 a month in positive cash flow coming off your rentals. It's a hugely thing. You do that by investing and leveraging your capital, right? So this idea of leverage, take everything, capital, technology, talent, leverage to get the biggest result. People think leverage is a dirty word. Everyone says, oh, he's over leveraged or whatever. You gotta remove that connotation. Leverage is your friend. Technology. It's highly leveraged activity, right? Build a plan, like a nurture campaign or some sort of client plan into your CRM. You build it once, it's automated. Highly leveraged activity. Okay, you're leveraging your tech to do that. Take the time to record one bomb video. You're leveraging this platform that you can make a recording and you can send that out to many. It takes you 3 minutes to make the recording, and then that goes out to 300 people, and 300 minutes of you is consumed in that moment. That is a highly leveraged thing to do. And then similarly with making content, we talked about that before. It is a highly leveraged thing. You're leveraging the technology, you're leveraging YouTube, you're leveraging these devices that we have that we can film ourselves and record something that's an evergreen piece of content, and you're putting that on a platform that will be there forever, and you're letting people come and watch it hundreds or thousands of times. It is a highly leveraged activity, right? This idea, you gotta think about it. So if you wanna make $1 million a year and you recognize there's 2,000 working hours in the year, it's $500 an hour stuff. You gotta run, and if your number's half that, if you're trying to make $500,000, then you're $250 an hour stuff, right? And you got to figure out what your time is worth in a leveraged way, and don't do stuff that doesn't correlate to that dollar per hour activity. I don't do $100 an hour stuff, ever, right? It's $1,000 an hour or bust. People want coaching, it's $1,000 an hour. I cannot do anything for less than $1,000 an hour. And I don't say that to be boastful, but that is just, you got to hold your time accountable to a certain amount, okay? Talent, the good stuff. So you kind of do this in phases, right? Starts with a kick-ass administrator. You need somebody who is a rock star admin, not someone who ticks boxes, but somebody who really gets the whole program, okay? That is, we have multiple people on our team. Like we have Cassandra, she's our VP of operations. She gets the whole program. We have Michael, he's the director of operations. He understands how all the pieces integrate. So this first hire that you make them with the long-term in mind. Say, is this the type of person that is going to grow with me and know everything? They're gonna know how all of these systems integrate, so then they can kind of quarterback, whether it's to other administrators or to VAs, they become the administrative quarterback of your organization. Huge piece of the puzzle. Don't skimp out here and try and do this for $18 an hour. That's not the way. Pay people what they're worth, and develop a system for attracting talent, and then a system to sift and sort to find the best people, right? We'll interview 100 people before we fill an administrative role because we want top talent. That's why our administrators are all way smarter than our agents. I don't mean that for real, Kalista. All right, did I go through everything there? Yeah, so then the next step is the ISA. You have to decide, are you going to use a human being to do the inside sales stuff, or we don't have the option of having an outsourced person do it, but we do have the option of having a bot. You could have a bot auto reply to all your stuff, and you could have a bot trying to do all your engagement. You could do that. That's leverage, right? You're leveraging technology. But I think a better play would be to make the investment in an inside sales team and cultivate that over time. The next thing is a salaried showing partner. Probably, has anybody heard of this role before? Our Vantage guys have. But this is a new role we just started experimenting with 2 years ago. And it's somebody comes onto the team and they have an opportunity to earn while they learn the business, okay? You pay them a salary and you pay them a small piece, similar to how you would pay an inside sales agent. And they have 2 jobs. Become ridiculously good at this job by training and leverage the heck out of you. That's it. Those are their jobs. They allow you to be in 2 places at once, okay? And then guess what? They graduate from that. Whether it's in a year, 18 months, 2 years, depending on where you set it. If it's at 100 transactions, they come in, it's mutually beneficial. They're leveraging your experience and you're leveraging their availability, right? They're getting 10 years worth of experience downloaded into them into a year, and you're getting the ability to be home at night and have your evenings and weekends free and to be able to go on a vacation and know safely that your business is taken care of. It is a mutually beneficial thing. Both parties win. This role is easy to duplicate. You don't need to be a brokerage to offer it. You can advertise for a salaried showing partner at any point, and people will come. We have more people showing up to that ad than any other ad we run for any other position. There's a ton of people, there's a ton of demand for this role, okay? And then eventually they graduate to becoming a full-fledged agent, and if your vision is big enough to encapsulate their vision for their own business, and you let them be an intrapreneur, they're not a lackey as a team agent, they're an entrepreneur. They're building their business within your business, right? And your vision for the business is enough to encapsulate the vision that they have for their business. That's it. They stay on as team agents. And so this is the leverage ladder as you go. I mentioned this showing agent. I highly implore you, I hope some of you guys take my advice on this. Get a showing agent. You'll get the ability to do more volume, and you'll get the ability to be in 2 places at once, and you'll get some sanity back, because the hardest part of this industry is the fact that you never get to put your phone down. You can never honestly take a real vacation where you don't have your phone out every 2 minutes answering texts and emails. Having a partner in that, even that's someone that you're removing the risk from them, you're paying them a base salary, and they're making money off the deals that they do, so it's all good, it's mutually beneficial, but the value of what you get in that is just, it's an absolute no-brainer. Okay, I'm gonna make the case for why you should, hey, my slide didn't update. You guys spent all that time making the slide nice and it didn't update. All right, we'll go from the crusty slide. I wanna make the case for why you should spend half the money that you make. There's people in the audience, I know Paul's looking at this going, yeah, right, I would never do that. But if you're honest, how many hours do you work? How many hours do you work?
I work a lot.
Let me ask you this, how sustainable and how often do you ask yourself the question, how long can I do this for?
Every time I talk to Nick.
So I make the case. I've always been the guy that I never had expectations of taking more than 50 cents to the bottom line. In fact, I usually made much less. When I was at Remax and I was doing $500,000 in gross, my NOA would say low 200s, right? I always reinvested back in the business, but I always had sanity. I always had balance in my life. In fact, when Mandy and I got together back when we first started dating, it wasn't my Aston Martin that attracted her to me. It was the balance that I had in my life. She said, you are balanced, and I don't see that in other professionals that I meet. You have balance in both sides. The only way I had that is because I invested half the money that I was making into creating systems and sharing the wealth and having many hands make light work, right? If I don't like if I'm grossing 500 and I'm only netting 250 and I don't like that equation, 250 is not enough for me, my options are not to skimp out and fire people and spend less on marketing. Raise the top line, baby. That's the easiest thing. That's the easiest lever to pull, right? You wanna make $500,000? Go out and put systems in place to generate $1 million. You wanna make $1 million? Put systems in place to generate $2 million. It sounds crazy, but it's really just a matter of turning the dials when it's all done by numbers and you have the tools in what I've given you here to be able to quantify what input you need to get certain outputs, okay? It's all there. This is a numbers-based game. You can do it, but here's just a really rudimentary version of a budget. Take $1 million in GCI, take $500,000 off for the agents that did it. Okay? The other half goes into supporting the business. 15% goes back into lead generation, so you've got a healthy budget to generate a ton of business. You can spend money on branding, you can spend money on a lot. Over 10 grand a month, you're good. This is on $1 million GCI, that's a healthy amount. Support is the big one, 25%. For $250,000 a year, you can have a kick-ass operations coordinator, you can have a salary to an inside sales agent, you can have a salary to a good showing partner, okay? So now, and you can have a handful of VAs doing transaction management. And if you really need to net more than 5%, start paying yourself a salary out of that. Put yourself in there. If you're the guy that's gonna be micromanaging everything because you're a micromanager, then give yourself $5 grand a month for being the manager. Fine. That's how you can carve off some more margin. I would suggest to you that eventually within the 25% that goes into salary, you find someone who's a way better manager than you, because if you're a good salesperson, I assure you, you're not an amazing manager. Okay? So eventually you put in a manager. And that person manages the business, and guess what? Everybody makes more money as a consequence because you have the right people in the right spots. You're not trying to wear 10 different hats. You've got a kick-ass person who is just wired to be an amazing prospector, and that's what they do prospecting. And you have a detail-oriented person who is just amazing. They love to do tasks and cross things off to-do lists, and that's what they do, and they're managing your whole transactional process. And then you've got a showing partner who is really eager to learn the business and is really happy that you're taking the risk out of starting a new career away by paying them a salary, and they're really fortunate to be able to learn from somebody who's done hundreds of deals. And now you've got a little system and a little team, and you get to be the guy that stands back now and tinkers with it, okay? What do I need to do? What gas do I need to add to the fire here? Do I need to do more lead gen? Maybe that's not the problem, maybe it's my lead conversion. Right? But now you've separated yourself from the business long enough to be able to look at it from the top down. It's a huge piece. Okay, that was heavy. Let's get into the lighter stuff for a sec. We just want to finish off with some operating systems, some personal development. Two things. One, you got to prioritize your health and you got to prioritize your relationships in this business before business, right? You got to take care of those. If you're feeling good, if the body's good, you're healthy, you're going to the gym, you got your program right, that's gonna open up the bandwidth in a huge way. If your relationships at home, your wife, your husband, your kids, if that's right, then you can show up and be who you need to be for your clients. But until those two things are taken care of, that's where you gotta start. You gotta get that stuff right. It's not gonna be perfect, but that's gotta be pretty good, okay? Prioritize your health and happiness. It's kind of like on an airplane, they say, the oxygen mask comes down, put it on your face, and then help other people. Same thing. Prioritize your health and your happiness, and then you'll be able to help clients and make them happy. The operating systems that we work on that work really, really well, we integrated them with Miracle Morning. You gain back so much time. Who here does Miracle Morning? Handful of people, that's cool. Most of them Vantage people. In any case, the Miracle Morning is a huge thing. It's a game changer. You get up really early in the morning, you exercise, you meditate, you plan your day, you journal what you're trying to accomplish. It's a very proactive way to start the day, and you have done that before 95% of the other agents are even out of bed, right? You're locked and loaded, you've read some great new content, you're putting new good content into your mind, so business books or personal development books. It's huge. The next operating system that you wanna run off is the 12-week year, okay? 12-week year is all about periodization, and it's based on the idea that if you set a goal for a year, you will lollygag for the first 6 months, and then some urgency will happen in the fourth quarter when you realize you haven't done much on those goals because you pulled the goal sheet out of your drawer and you saw it and you go, holy shit, I was supposed to do all that. And then you're hammering it for a quarter to try to get it done. And if you're a really good executor, you probably still do get it done. Great, so you got a whole year's worth of stuff done in a year, but you had to do it all in a quarter and bust your hump. The flip on that is if you set intentions quarterly, make goal setting a quarterly activity, then you approach that same quarter with the same intensity that you approached Q4 on your annual plan, which allows you to get as much done in a quarter as you would otherwise have gotten it done in a year. So read the book, The 12-Week Year. I'm not doing it a great service with my little pitch there, but the 12-week year is a game changer. We operate on that based on the idea that we're gonna get 4 times as much done. The other cool thing about the 12-week year is it doesn't fit perfectly into a 52-week year, obviously, 4 times 12. The 13th week is for one of two things. If you hit your goal, and you did what you said you were gonna do, you celebrate. You take a week off, go to Mexico, do whatever you're gonna do, celebrate, treat yourself. If you didn't, then you'd have a week extra to make up the difference. And in that week, you're always planning for what that next quarter is. So you've always got that buffer week to plan, to create the next plan, reward yourself if you hit your goals, or catch up if you missed it, right? So it's a really nice cadence, and it gives you that little bit of buffer. And then profit first. So if you are running a business, one thing that I made the mistake of is allowing my business to be a cash-eating monster for the first 8 years of Vantage. Did not take $1 of profit out of Vantage for 8 years because I was constantly reinvesting it. But a business will always eat all of the cash available. So profit first accounting is, so I was carving off the side on the commission, so I was still making money, but the business itself would always consume whatever cash was left available after the commissions came out. It was like a flow-through accounting. What profit first suggests is that you carve out off the top line certain margins, right? So you start small, 10% margin, that goes into a bank account that's not connected to your internet banking, right? It goes to a credit union account that you don't even have a bank card for, it's gone. And then 10% goes to a tax account. So 10% of the gross goes off into a tax account. Again, you don't have the ability to touch it, right? And then another 10% goes into what's called owner's comp, which is how you pay your salary out of that. So then make sure that you're, at least at the very least, you're gonna get a little bit of a salary. And then the other 70%, the business is forced to live on. And it's just like a diet, right? You get a helping of food, you take a tiny little bit off, and you eat that, lo and behold, it works. You're still fine. You don't die, right? It's the same thing, but if you carve off the top line, and then as you get more efficient, you can start carving off larger amounts off that top line, and that way you're always protecting the profit. Now, if you carve off the top line and there's not enough money to run your business on, and that happens 1 month in a row, 2 months in a row, 3 times in a row, well, what do you have to do? Not go take your profit, remargin the business. You got to remargin the business so that it can survive off of the amount, and then you got to put tactics in plan to get back on a growth trajectory. You've gone through a period of negative growth, you got to remargin the business to acknowledge that. We had that problem in 2016 when we all went to Mexico and celebrated our huge year, right? And so we did, I think it was 460 transactions, best year ever. Take everybody to Mexico, set a goal to do 500 and something deals the next year. Market turned in 2017. A little change, right? We only did 360 deals, but our business had swollen up. So we had one choice. We're losing about 100 grand a month. We had one choice, remargin the business. But not getting paid for my time at that point was not an option anymore. I'm still gonna carve off my little piece and remargin the business to that bit. So that's the discipline that profit first accounting represents. You definitely wanna implement that. Read that book. Some other good ones, if you need a little kick in the pants, like just get things rolling, Fanatical Prospecting is one of the best books that'll just give you a jolt of energy, especially as you go into the new year. Combine the energy you get from Fanatical Prospecting with that, what are your real estate related goals in 2022 conversation, it's a home run. Shift is a good one. Gary Keller wrote, if you haven't been through a market shift, you should probably read this book just to get an idea of what happens in a market shift. This will allow you to kind of see into the future a little bit, because we know this. Following every boom is a slump. There is no doubt that we are in a boom, which means there is no doubt that we are entering into a slump next. I don't know if it's in 1 year, I don't know if it's in 3 years, but it is coming. The good news is with the tactics we've talked about today, you don't actually have to worry, because you can adapt your tactics and you can adapt your numbers. When you might have to call more people to get the same result, but you're constantly measuring the numbers and you're making small adaptations based on the numbers and you're adjusting your tactics. I'll tell you this too, I love a down market. I mean, I like a hot market, right? It's good, even a turkey can fly in a windstorm. But I like a down market. I'm kind of a down market guy because people value you, right? Right now you go list a home and it sells, whoop-de-doo. You're working for a buyer and you have to encourage them to pay full price or more than full price. Great job, Paul. Thanks for that. In a down market, when nothing's selling and you get it sold, ooh, baby, you're a stud. Buyer, you get them 12% off the listing price, they love you. They're telling everybody, you're valuable, right? You just gotta sharpen the skills. You just gotta have the skills. It's nice to be valued. It's nice to have deals fall into your lap. It's nice when you don't have to do any prospecting and the market plays offense for you and you can actually not call people back and still do 5 deals a month. That's great. That's not real life. And you're not as valued. And we're more susceptible in a hot market to the stuff I was talking about before the commoditized thinking, the disintermediation by the Zillows and the Redfins. In a hot market where houses sell themselves and realtors just screw up deals, enter Redfin. In a market where you need somebody who's a trained professional to get the job done, put your cape on, baby. It's a better market, so don't fear it. It's coming. I don't know when, but it is coming. The Big Leap. That's a great book. I just finished it. Us as a group, as leadership group, and now everybody on our team has read The Big Leap. It's a really strong book. It talks about your upper limit problems. If you have any sort of problems that you're storing from childhood where you don't see yourself being able to build a business like this, or you don't see yourself as the type of person that could lead people, or you don't feel you deserve the success that you're having, killer book. Gets rid of all that crap. That's it. So again, as we wind up here, I wanted to sort of leave you with this sort of thought. You took a ton of notes. Take and star a couple of things that you want in each of the 7 components. Take one lead generation thing that you're like, you know what, I can do that. Start there, star that. Take one thing on the lead conversion side that you're gonna implement. I'm gonna get my buyer's presentation tight, or I'm gonna do value-based reminders, whatever, okay? One thing. That's all you need to do this quarter. Take one thing on the service side, tighten it up, right? Take one little thing on the operational side. I might go crazy and hire a VA, right? You know, those baby steps. But add little things layer by layer and recognize that this whole process is Kaizen, which means small incremental improvements add up over time. Okay, you don't need to revolutionize your business. I'm not asking you to leave here today and change everything, right? You guys are all successful, it's working. Just tweak it, little tweaks, right? It took us 10 years to go from 60 to 600, and it was one brick at a time. Just little tweaks.
The real estate business is an amazing business, but why is it that all of the top producers that you meet are right on the edge of burnout? This market we're in is hot, for sure. You can do 8, 9, 10 deals a month, but are you home at night with your kids? Are you doing the things that you love on the weekend? Are you taking care of yourself? In most cases, top producing agents would answer no if they're honest. And that's because they spend all of their time working in their business and not on it. Now, if this sounds like you and you want to take yourself from a top producing agent to a business owner, someone whose business pays them every single month, whether they sell or show a home or not, that's what I do. With Vantage West Academy, we teach high producing agents how to transition to business owners and build a business that scales and that will take care of you and your loved ones for the rest of your life. So if that sounds interesting to you and you want to take that next step, book a strategy call with me. We'll do a deep dive into your business and determine whether this is something that could work for both parties. So again, I invite you to book that strategy call now, and I look forward to getting to know you a little better.